few laps of each other. The one who's going to be up for the next pit stop is probably going to be the number 19 out of that group, which is the Luke Brahms A6 AM leading GDL Racing Mercedes SLS. Probably time for Ivo Breukers to have another go in that car, I would think.
Organize the race in the race. It's a good weekend.
Absolutely. Meantime, beginning to get to the stage where the Corvette is getting back up to speed and taking time out of the 19 car. The Corvette, of course, running in Pro, the 19 Mercedes running in AM.
But the 21 is what hopes to be in the hunt for a podium position. So they are continuing to try their best. Alex Vanterhoff behind the wheel of that car now. Pierre Arret, there's a famous endurance racing name, and the 458 is in 6th position overall, 5th in the Pro category in the 458, appropriately named 458 Ferrari.
Meantime, in that A6 AM battle, the gap before that little flurry of laps was 39 seconds from the 9th position overall and 2nd in the class, John Dillon, through the number 10 Lamborghini to Jordan Grogor. And when last I checked, that had come down with the 3 joker laps that Jordan spent on that battle by a full 10 seconds.
And in fact, the battle for 2nd and 3rd is pretty good as well. Hardiner Dilson in the number 14 Ferrari has an 11-second lead over Oliver Webb in the number 10 Lamborghini.
Absolutely. Webb closing in on the man known to...
Webb's a peddler, though.
Oh, yeah. John Dillon, known by most in GT circles as John, and races with that moniker in British GT, but he is being closed in on pretty quickly by Oliver Webb, as you'd expect. But it's going to be really down now to who wants to spend those joker laps, and who can get closest of all to that 205 mark. And there's a skill in itself.
Yeah. See, to me, that's the thing when the pros come into this event and they say, we want to run flat out. I think it takes just as much. It's a different kind of skill, but it takes just as much skill to be able to go out and cut the razor edge to a 5-minute, 2-minute, 5-second lap as it does to just go flat out in traffic. So I think that would be an interesting challenge. The first year we were here, they didn't have the option.
No.
You had to do it, and I just thought that was absolutely terrific. I mean, I'm not complaining. I don't mind the fact that they have gone to the optional route of being AM or Pro. But I just found that very intriguing, and I thought it was a great test of skill for both the pros and the amateurs to be able to hit that. It was a throwback to the days of endurance racing when that's what you did, was you went out and hit your number.
Yeah, and it was a response to the I won't say the campaign, but the requests of the pros that they opened it up to allow them to go flat out.
See our conversation earlier about they entertain suggestions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was the suggestions of the pros that they opened it in that direction. As I say, there've been some,
and it hasn't hurt the event at all. I think it's great.
It hasn't, but it has meant that everybody has gone in the pro class really, rather than having pros and AMs competing on a level playing field against each other.
Last year it was about 50-50, wasn't it?
In the early stages.
Yeah, this year it's very lopsided. People going into the pro category. It's alive.
Well, let's put it this way: of all the organising bodies that we work alongside and work with, this is the body that I've got most confidence will go away and have a constructive discussion about it, because there's nothing wrong with this race at all. We will find, I'm sure, that there will be the odd curveball thrown, and that you won't have one of these cars in the fight for an overall order able to defend constructively, which might look a little odd. But what we're getting at the moment is we've got fights in the Pro class, we've got another fight in the Am class, and they're using the rule book to its fullest extent. That 3-car battle for second in Am at the moment, the gap, the Ferrari, 14 Ferrari to the 10 Lamborghini to the 888. Ferrari now down to 23 seconds from 39 seconds where it was before, and that's with Jordan Grogor not having spent any more of those.
One of the things that I really like about multi-class racing is the fact that you can take two different theories, two different forms of technology, however you want to put it, and point towards the same goal of winning the overall race. That, to me, makes it very intriguing and very interesting. That was the case when they did the first iteration of the LMP 675 rules.
Yep.
That was the object. It was a totally different set of regulations, but the goal was to make it so that those regulations could compete for the overall victory. That's morphed and changed, and that's long gone now. But when that originally came into play 10 years ago, it was a great idea, and it really came to the fore more in the United States than anywhere else. When we saw the Dysons beating the Audis overall at Sonoma and beating the R8s overall at Sonoma with a 675 entry and that sort of stuff, that was some great racing.
We just had some more information come through. Thank you to the timeservice.nl folks, because the little flurry of Joker laps set by Jordan Grogor there, he's now used 7 out of his 10, whereas the Rhino's Lamborghini, number 10, has used 9 out of his 10. Ooh. So Oliver Webb, as you mentioned a little while ago, Graham, is not quite sitting on the bubble. He's had 9 Jokers. He can use 1 more. Jordan still has all the 888 Dragon Ferrari, still has 3 to use up. So
I wonder if there were two reasons behind that little flurry. One was to actually close that gap, and 2 is to see whether or not they could force them into a position where they used it.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
And actually, what we've got, Oliver Webb, I don't think I've looked at that screen and seen him doing anything other than a 205 or a 206 lately. As
we're seeing on the screens now, if you're watching the streaming, the 888, as now we have just 19 seconds separating second, third, and fourth in the A6 amateur category, with about 4.5 hours remaining, 4 hours and 20 minutes remaining. It's the 14 with about a 7-second advantage over the number 10, Oliver Webb, and then a further a 10-second advantage now over Oliver Webb, and then probably another 4 or 5 seconds back is going to be eight seconds back is Jordan Grogor.
And the guy who actually leads the class, still Luke Brahms in the number 19 GDL Mercedes. Just to complete the story, he's used 8 of his 10. So 9 Jokers used by the number 10 Lamborghini, 8 used by the number 19 Mercedes, and 7 used by the 888 Dragon Racing Ferrari. And just a reminder again, we've said this before, but once you get to within 2 hours, then you won't be allowed to use them at all. And if you do go under the 2 minutes 05, then you'll get assessed with a stop and go, but I've forgotten for how long.
Is it 10 seconds?
It's stop and go, and if you do it again, it increases in...
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it goes up exponentially.
Yes.
Ram Racing Ferrari in the pits. They're down to 16th place at the moment. Johnny Molam out of the car.
Yeah, it looks like Matt Griffin got on board. Lots of green on the helmet as I legged it up the pit lane. Obviously, it's such a shame that car had just moved into the lead when it had at about, what time was that this morning? About 3 o'clock, wasn't it? And then it had the collision, or was collided with by the Aston Martin, which I gather was avoiding something else. But anyhow, the outcome was about 20 laps at least lost in the pit, while the radiators and many, many other things on a log job list were changed by Ram Racing. And been going very well ever since, but only in about 16th position, always chipping away at those ahead. But I think this is a 2-lap gap to the car in front of it. So 30, the Ram Racing Ferrari, unfortunately now going up onto the dollies, which doesn't suggest a quick return to the track.
That's a shame.
what they have done is to achieve that very, very good strategy of double stinting the tyres throughout the race, and that saw them in very good shape earlier on in the race, and they've stuck to that strategy even though it hasn't come out for them in the end.
This could be brakes, Bruce. They changed the front wheels, but not the rears. The car was dollied in with, well, certainly the rear wheel and also.
No trouble for the 97.
Yeah, I'll just go and see what they get on with the car. They clearly have some plan or other.
Trouble for the 97, the Seat, with Martin Niedenschneider.
Joining, cutting across the front.
Third place in the A3T category. That was that at the end of the front straightaway, Graham?
I think it might well have been, and actually rejoined just as it might well have been Basseng arrived.
Yeah, lucky him.
Or Hout.
So there's the number 10, Oliver Webb, with a 3-second advantage. You see him just coming into the back of the frame there. Jordan Groger in the 888 Ferrari, the Dragon Speed Ferrari.
And that's Webb having had a slow lap that time around, 2:10.
Yeah.
And this has been a cracking little stint from Jordan Groger.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And there he is. Now he's, what were you saying earlier about having the scent?
I think so.
He's a braying hound at this point. He's almost got his prey treed.
And that Lamborghini does not look like it's got all its available pace at the moment.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a happy Lamborghini.
A good Lamborghini is a happy Lamborghini. With a raging bull, don't you?
All right, going down the end of the second, the chute that takes him through the big left-hander. Turn 14 now. Groger right up on the tailpipe with the number 10 car. So here we go. This is going to be less than a second, and he may take him here. Going into 16. Oh. No, he looks down the inside, but Oliver Webb is able to close the door. So here we go, down the front straightaway. Who has the? Who's going to have the power? Nose to tail. The number 10 leading the 888. Gregor will look down the inside. Nope, doesn't have time to do it there, and goes through. Not quite. Jordan Groger in the 888 tried. Oh, and we have the 150, the Audi going around at turn 14, right in front of the 121. And so, and Groger was not able to get it done as they go through the turn 3-4 complex, and will make that big, long, sweeping left that will dump them through turn 8, that will dump them out onto the what we're calling the diagonal straightaway, the longest straightaway on the racetrack, which will take them all the way up to turn 10. Let's see if Groger can make a charge now as the two of them come through the last sector. They said it was 5 seconds behind. That's not 5 seconds, not by any stretch of the imagination. Groger looks to the outside. The Lamborghini protecting to the inside, taking a line down the middle of the racetrack. Groger cuts underneath. He'll try to keep the pressure on as they go through the right-hander now. He's right up under the tailpipe of the Lamborghini as they go up to the turn 11 and 12 complex. The right-hander up over the little knoll, and then now they plunge down and will make the hard charge down to the sweeping left-hander at turn 14 as they come under our camera platform here. And then Groger tries the outside. He's looking for a little bit wider line. He's going to try and diamond the corner and see if he can get a run on the number 10 Lamborghini. Oliver Webb doing an excellent job of defending without blocking. He's taking a great defensive line, as now Groger will try and outbreak him. No such luck. No such luck. He doesn't have the opportunity. He got close, but he couldn't complete the pass.
And Hubert Haupt is pulling up on the back of this pair, and let's just hope that he's aware that his guys are actually battling for position. Position could get a little bit tight. Actually, no, that's not that one. There we go. It's he's got it done. He's got it done through turn 1.
Yes, he did. He got him at turn 1. So we're going to have, when they come around, we'll have a new third place in a new podium position in the GT3 AM category, as Jordan Groger looks like he has gotten it done. Yes, indeed. as also getting by is Herbert Haupt. He got by the 10 car. So now Haupt is between the 10 Lamborghini and Jordan Groger in the 888 Ferrari Dragon Speed Racing entry. So that's a great job by Groger, using those joker laps when he had to, and set himself up to be in a position to take the spot.
And now
here with 4 hours and 15 minutes to go.
And now just
I have news from car number 30, Ram Racing. We saw it go into the garage. They hadn't changed the rear tyres. They changed the front ones. Shall I tell you why?
Sure.
And the team has no idea why it happened, but the drive pegs on the left rear corner have come adrift. With no reason, but so they're clearly changing that. Very, very frantic work. So Matt Griffin got out of the car, having just got in. Johnny Boland was in the car at the time. The drive pegs sheared, so they're trying to fix that. But don't forget, these left rear corners are where it's all at. Just look at Mercedes number 2. They've had problems for most of the race. Well, certainly since the early hours of the morning with the same left corner. I guess it's the one that gets a lot of strain around this circuit going clockwise. But anyhow, more problems for Ram Racing. Goes well in between, but unfortunately we had the fall this morning where it got thumped very hard, and now this second one.
And Jordan Groger, having made that pass, 28 by the way, stopped to the back straight, recovery in progress again. That'll be the belt again, I'm sure. But he's now just 5 seconds back from, in fact he's 4 seconds back from John Dillon. This for 9th position overall and 2nd in the AM category. And he's just put in a lap of 2:05.1, so he's making that progress whilst, well, that's an utterly professional display, isn't it? There you go. But it's not going to be very long at all before he's on terms with John Dillon. And this has been a fine display from Jordan Groger.
John Dillon in the number 14 Ferrari. And as Graham said, just now 3.8 seconds ahead of Groger. See if we can see there he is. He is going to about another 2 corners, and he's going to be able to see as he's going down the long back straightaway now. He'll see the 14 car out in front of him, and he'll know that he's getting close. He is going for 2nd place in the class at this point, and he's on the hunt. This is when we need the Jaws music. As John Dillon goes through the turn 11 complex up over the brow and makes the run down towards turn 14, he gets by some slower traffic quite niftily, and so that's going to help his cause, as there is the 28 as a intervention vehicle has shown up to pull him back to the pits, as now they come through turn 14 and through turn 15. Herbert Haupt is going to pass the 14 here, probably as he's coming down the front straightaway. And Jordan Groger now definitely has the 14 car of John Dillon in his sights. Let's see what the interval is when they cross the start-finish line. 3 seconds. 3 seconds even. 3 seconds and a smidge.
And that's going to bring, that's another 2:05.1 for Jordan Groger. And this is bringing Oliver Webb into play as well with John Dillon. Because that's going to be an important one, because he's going to want back that podium position that he lost in the battle with Groger.
And Oliver Webb is only a second and a couple tenths behind Groger.
Absolutely.
So this is soon going to be, once the number 2 car clears out, this will be a 3-car battle, pretty much nose to tail.
Meantime, a little further up the order, in fact, the battle for 4th is closing up nicely as well, and that's another one that involves an A6AM runner, the leader, the number 19 Mercedes. Luc Brahms is at the moment in charge of that car, but being closed down by the number 21 Corvette, getting up to speed now on the 207 for Alex van der Hoff. And just around 4 seconds dead, the gap now, and closing.
So John Dillon has done a good job of stretching it out a little bit in Sector 2. I think Groger got caught in some traffic as I think we're seeing there.
But I think Dillon was caught himself as well. Was one of the Nissans involved there as they came through turn 10.
So now Groger is right.
That's
right.
not 3 seconds anymore, is it?
No, it's not 3 seconds anymore. We're maybe a second at the most, as they will be coming in front of us right here at turn 14. And Groger takes a little bit tighter line than Dillon does through 14, and now closes in even more as they go through 15. And I don't think Dillon is as driving as a defensive line as what Oliver Webb did, but he carries more speed into 16, leaves his braking a little bit later, goes wide, and now Groger's going to get a run off of, he's right on his tailpipe as they go underneath us. Just 1/10 of a second separates them, and we'll see if Groger can get it done going down into turn 1 as they go over the crown in the road, and he dives underneath him, and yes, he gets it done. Now, can he make it stick as they go through turn 3 and 4? And I think he will. I think he's got a hammerlock on that position now.
Yeah, now is the time when you're glad he didn't use all his jokers up earlier on, because he can, whilst he doesn't want to necessarily have to go underneath 205, if he feels he has to in order to make it stick, in inverted commas, then it's an opportunity of using another joker, because he's still got them in the pipe.
He's got one to give. He's got a few to give, but certainly he could give one right now without any issues.
Although the John Dillon car, number 14, doesn't have so many left over, or does have a few left over himself. John Dillon is, I think he's on 6 or 7 used at the moment, so he's in as good a shape as Grogor is in the Dragon Racing Ferrari. But I think he'll be able to just stroke it over the line and keep it within the 205s. I don't think John Dillon's going to be close enough to push him into using up a joker.
And that's 2 significant moves there for Jordan Grogor. Not only does that put him into second position in his class, but it also puts him well inside the top 10 now. Overall, it's up into 9th position. So 3 of the amateur cars now in the top 10. At the moment, those positions filled by the 888, the 19 car up in 4th position, 888 now up into 9th, and the 14 Ferrari in 10th position. But Oliver Webb is the next most likely, I think, to progress, because I'm sure Oliver will be looking to do what he can to get onto terms with John Dillon.
And he is now closed in on Dillon, and certainly he is going to be probably close to a second, as Groger will go through now and confirm the 9th place position on timing and scoring.
205.153 for Joden there. Good GPS positioning, knew exactly where he was, what he had to do. And Oliver Webb at 206. John Dillon with a 210 on that lap is one he got overtaken on.
And so he's now 4.7 seconds behind Groger, and Webb is just less than a second behind him. He's about 0.8 of a second behind. So.
Have we mentioned that all of this is taking place with yellow flags being displayed on the back straight because Lawrence Tomlinson's decided to stop, or the car has decided to stop on Lawrence Tomlinson? How dare it?
Brave car.
Pretty much in exactly the same place as it stopped before, and they're recovering that into the back into the pit lane again. And
the Lamborghini has made the pass going down the back straightaway. The Lamborghini has now pulled out about a second on the Ferrari number 14. So when they come by start finish again, if he can make it stick through 10, 11, and 14, then Oliver Webb will have gotten himself into the top 10 and dropped John Dillon down to 11th and 4th in the A6 AM class.
Meantime, there's another move that's imminent now, gentlemen, and that is for the 4th place overall, because the Corvette now under half a second back from the number 19 Mercedes-Benz. And this, as we said a little earlier, is the A6 AM leader, the number 19 car, riding high in the overall order. But the Corvettes will want to, the Corvette cars will want to be by that car and, well, in pole position, if you like, to take advantage if anybody else ahead stumbles, because there is an overhaul podium spot up for grabs here. Those 2 cars, just looking where they are, they must be in the first sector.
Yes, as I said, Luke Brahms is going to be pit bound fairly shortly, and then he,
right
when he
he's passed him.
Yeah, he has. Sorry, Paul. He has made the pass as they go into turn 16.
Fourth place overall then. And what I was going to say was that Luke Brahms' pit stop is kind of the marker, the indicator that we'll have a big kerfuffle of pit stops, and we'll need Bruce Jones to be in about 3 pits at the same time in order to cover them all, because not even his long legs will get him from one end of the pit lane to the other in time. So Engelbert rapidly heading towards 500 laps as we head towards 20 hours of the 24 completed.
So, what next? Bill Oberlin. Bill Oberlin, the man next most likely to succeed here in getting a position back. And, OK, we're not here talking about a podium position, but it'll matter to these guys. They've had a hell of a night, haven't they? Hitting the back, hitting the front.
They'd love it if they could get back into the top 10.
There you go. And they'd be looking at the moment to go by the 997 class leader, which is the next car up in the order for them to deal with, the 42 car. And Bill Oberlin closing to within 7 seconds now of the 42 car. And I think at this stage, you just look for something attainable, don't you? And what's attainable is top 10.
But yeah, here's our new goal.
I think
the 28 comes in on a flatbed. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you just keep going as fast as you can without, I think, honestly, to get into the top 10 is too tall an order for that BMW, even though it's going considerably more quickly than the cars around it. As you say, the flatbed giving the Ginetta I just wonder, because it's now on a flatbed rather than being towed, whether this is its final trip to the
well, I hope not. I mean, I got a theory this is Lawrence Tomlinson's way of saving fuel. Famously a Yorkshireman, and wouldn't like to be thinking he's paying for a full lap of petrol.
But surely he'd be using the same amount of fuel if he was on a tow rope, wouldn't he?
It's not his fuel.
Well, no, but that's the Yorkshire logic if ever I heard it.
We want that car back out. We want that car back out.
Absolutely,
yes, we do.
For every right reason in the world.
I have a feeling that car will be running at the finish.
I'm pretty sure of that. I have to say, delighted at the start of this race. A very difficult thing to do, what Reddit Bird did on the grid there, and that's silence for our absent friends here. Not just Cushy, but Alan Simonson, Sean Edwards, Wolf Sylvester. Was immaculately observed.
Yes, it was.
Immaculately observed.
It was, and also the upbeat nature of Team LNT, just touching on it there. As Lawrence came past, I spotted him in the cab of the flatbed with number 28 on the back, and he still gave a cheery smile, thumbs up. He does love his racing, doesn't he?
Oh, he does.
Through thick or thin.
Oh, he does. Okay, the 21, the Corvette, pulling away now from the Mercedes. Number 19 now, 2.2 seconds back. Bill Oberlin has made that pass for 13th overall. And his next target is... It is that little train of AM cars ahead. Tim Muller in the number 66.
Well, Tim Miller's a race for position. That's for 8th place in the pro category, and 12th overall. So
the race that we've got here, it could end up being a podium. Who knows?
Yeah, I go for another meal break. The leader will fall over sideways like they have every other time I go. I don't know if you've seen in the United States they have a beer commercial where shows all the silly things that fans do, superstitious things that they do, during sporting events. And the tagline at the end of it is, if it works, it's not weird. No, absolutely right. If it works, it's not weird. Just had a quick look down the order to see who's next most likely to actually be contending for a place. And actually, the car with one of the smaller gaps at the moment is the number 90 car. It's the Racing Divas. Yeah. And they are just one position off the podium finish. And the car ahead of them is not that much further ahead of them. 126, meanwhile, the second of the Team RGN Nissans is on pit lane. The bonnet up briefly, but the car's down off the jacks, is fired and sent. That is James Moffat.
That
Another
car.
gang that hasn't given up.
No, and they're fourth. They're fourth in their class. A wee way back down the road, it has to be said, but fourth nonetheless.
The time clock continues to carry on. Time waits for no man, and we are under 4 hours remaining in the 9th running of the 24 Hours of Dubai, the Dunlop 24. So the final 6th of the race to be run here in Dubai. Welcome to our coverage on RadioLeMans.com on 87.6 FM around the circuit. Jim Roller along with Paul Truswell and Graham Goodwin. And indeed, we have been watching some fantastic battles out on the racetrack. In the A6 AM category, we've been watching Jordan Grogar climb from 4th to 2nd in the class, and he has just used up another of his joker laps, turning in a 2:04.8, and that's kind of a wasted. That's kind of a wasted joker.
It sort of feels like that.
Yeah, a bit of a funny one, that, wasn't it?
I wonder if he let his enthusiasm get slightly ahead of him.
Or even a GPS malfunction.
Maybe.
How about that? Blame it on the equipment. No, what I was just wanting to say is that the BMW, the other BMW, the 27, the Valkenhorst Motorsport car, which Daniela Schmid is at the wheel of, is slowly gaining on Pierre Herret at the wheel of the Ferrari 458 of the same number. And it's just one of those things. There is enough time for that to actually turn into a bit of a battle. So, you know, we've got the situation at the moment where the leading Ferrari is the GT Corsa car, but the BMW would quite like to take it away from it, and it's a possibility that it might happen before the end of the race. It's a position in the top 6 at stake.
Paul, I would suggest that with 3 hours and 56 minutes to go, this race could get turned on its head.
The number 19 car, meanwhile, the GT, so the A, I need to stop saying GTM. The A6 leader is in the pits, and from 5th position, having lost 4th in that battle a little earlier on with the Corvettes. There has been a driver change. Couldn't see who actually got aboard that. It doesn't look like Duncan Huysman's helmet.
It's a silver helmet.
So we'll soon see. Also on pit lane at the moment, another top 10 car. It's number 17 car, the surviving Kraft AMR V12 Vantage GT3, and Kitasawa brought that car in, sitting in a solid 8th position at the moment, 7th in its class, of course. 19 is sent. Away they go. It is
burbling down the pit lane on its pit lane speed limit.
And having sent the 19, we can now stand up, because just informally it kind of heralds the arrival of everybody else in the pit. So
yes.
We'll get probably of them, the race leader will be in first of all. I know it won't be Mark Basseng, won't it? Because just remind myself of what I said, because Mark Basseng did that extra stop, remember? So he's working very strictly to a time limit, and he has no more than 25 minutes before he's going to have to make his pit stop.
I just got something out of the corner of my eye. It's always a dangerous thing when you've not seen it happen,
and
but you
not
think
set.
you see something. I'm not sure they changed all 4 tyres on that 19 car, because they rolled 4 tyres in, and 2 had stickers on, and 2 didn't.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, one of the things that obviously you don't have to change all 4.
No.
And I have been, frankly, kind of, it's one of those.
Wonder if they changed the left side zone.
Yeah,
Maybe.
you kind of have to change your frame of reference, don't you, with this race, because you get so used to tyre changes taking a long time. But they get them done very quickly and send him on his way. And long as they get the driver change done quickly, although some teams have been slower with their driver changes than they have with 4 wheels changing. So
it's because some of the drivers are my size and some of the drivers are your size.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Well, for me, yes. For Paul, no.
And I can go quicker because of the weight difference. Put us in a cart, Jim. Yeah.
I just see it as economy and premium economy.
I'm smart enough to not get in a go-kart unless it is pelting down rain.
Yeah.
Then I'll kick everybody's butt.
Well then, looking for Christian Engelhardt, still lapping very quickly, by the way.
I need the AJ Foyt seat.
Absolutely. 2:01.959 for the leader at the moment. So Christian Engelhardt not letting up, despite this concern that's been expressed about the gearbox in the lead car.
Yeah, 2:01.959.
He's pulling time out from the chasing Mercedes. And
This has been an excellent stint.
Oh, Engelhardt.
From Engelhardt.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look. What is the gap now? The real-time gap is now 5 minutes and 51 seconds. That's actually broadly what it was.
Yeah.
So he's clearly put down a marker, let them chase, and then just stretched it again. The other man in the top 20 that's lapping at particular pace is the aforementioned Bill Oberlin. 13th overall, 2:02.3 for Bill.
So
Another hour in the book, 27 laps completed in the hour, which for totally green track is a good
right,
number,
yeah.
but again leaves us just shy of last year's total of 600 laps. But let's say it's just indicative of what could be done if we would have a whole race which would be on green track.
Trouble, meanwhile, gentlemen, for the number 40 car. This is the car running 4th in the 997 class at present, 21st overall.
Ray Stuber behind the wheel of that car.
Yeah, and that car had served a penalty on coming in. It's the GDL car, which is Paul Stuber, Ray Stuber, Nigel Farmer and Bashir Mardini. That car served a penalty on coming into the pits and is now in the garage.
Just checked in with the Team Abu Dhabi racing by Black Falcon Motorsport, and they still don't know what the problem is with Mercedes number 1. They think it could be an exhaust sensor, but it could be lots of things. They're still playing around under the bonnet, under the car with torches, having a look. And also, okay, yes, it's been parked for some while, but they're still playing with it, trying to see what they can do. But Ram Racing, it's taking longer to change than they thought because there was more damage. It wasn't just the rear drive pegs.
Yeah, nearly half an hour now, Bruce, in the pits for that car.
Yeah, it turns the damage might have, well, put it this way, some bits of bodywork maybe got a bit of damage, and they had to replace a rear drive shaft as well. So it was just as you finish one task, you find it's far greater, and they've had to do the other. But Matt Griffin's on board, and he should be coming out fairly soon indeed. The car's still up on the jacks in the garage, but within the next handful of minutes, as the Lamborghini number 10 comes down the pit lane after that fabulous battle on the track with Oliver Webb.
And seeds the third
going
position.
straight through, going through for fuel only.
Oh, right, okay, and seeds 10th position overall and 3rd in class in doing so. And it's going to be a little wee while before we see John Dillon follow him down pit lane by the look of things. The rather battered 57 Honda comes in, and driver change underway. Looks like they're going to change 2 wheels only on that car. This car's had its troubles and bears the scars.
As Bruce reported, here comes the 30 car. Fired up, and we'll head down pit lane. 30 minutes. Just ticking over 30 minutes. That car has been in for repairs. We'll see who's in the car.
Matt Griffin.
Matt
Griffin.
did switch over with Johnny.
Yeah, it's another of the what I would describe as the plucky displays this weekend. That team, I mean, they've led this race and were luckless in that situation, taken out in an accident not of their own making. And you know, knowing Johnny Molam as we do, we know just how upset he's going to be about that. Whether or not it's your fault,
so, yeah.
The fact that you were actually holding the steering wheel when it happened does imbue these professional drivers when they come back with a sense of responsibility. And Johnny holds his responsibilities very seriously.
Having said that, and this is not a criticism of Johnny Molam in any way at all, but wasn't it impressive what Mark Basseng, going hell for whatnot down the straight, still had the wherewithal to keep his eye on in the mirror and be aware that the car behind him had a puncture, and if he turned into his normal apex point, he would have been hit. So even if you're in one of the top running fast cars, it's not sufficient just to keep your wits about you looking forward, but you need to be aware of what's going on behind you.
I absolutely agree.
For presence of mind moment, Mark Basseng, top marks.
Totally heads up. The major difference, of course, with Johnny was he did it in the dark.
And I'm saying it's not the same situation
right.
at all.
But you're absolutely right. It is another one of these things that makes these guys different.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you know.
So you're saying what's behind me is important.
Even if you're in one of the fastest cars on the track.
If you're in the braking zone, yes.
A great line from the movie where he pulls the rearview mirror off the car. What's behind me is not important.
I'm not very good on movie lines, I'm afraid. If you want me in your Trivial Pursuit team, don't ask questions on movies.
Okay.
Now,
or football.
Do we know, Bruce, if you're listening down there, what the issue was for the Aston Martin? It means it's just done. That would have been an outlap, but 9 minutes and 5 seconds for Daryl O'Young, which has put him down to 10th position and behind the second and third position cars in A6M.
But I'm afraid I don't. But I'm going up there now to find out.
He's back on track now, but we saw he pitted, but we weren't sure why he was in for that long.
Okay, I'll let you know, and I'm actually waiting to doorstep Jordan Groger when he gets out of the 888 for obvious reasons. I'm
guessing he's going to be a young man with a rather wide smile. Now, a car that certainly must have had the delay is the number 33 car, Ivan Samarin, in the number 33 Porsche 997, because that's a car that led that class for an awfully long time.
Yeah.
And has dropped back, is now running fourth in class, behind the 62 BMW, the class leader, which I think rated as the next most likely to actually inherit a top 20 position, currently running 21st.
It wasn't his last pit stop. His last pit stop was only 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
I noticed that running strongly now, the
speak of the devil, here he comes.
The erstwhile leader, number 4 Porsche, the Fach Autotech Porsche, in the hands of Otto Kloos. We made a small mistake earlier on when we suggested that Otto didn't drive it, because apparently he did the second stint of the race. In the number 4, so he's having another go now, although the car way out of contention. It's in 17th place, in amongst the cars that have problems. It's just ahead of the recovering Ram Racing Ferrari. So what is a battle for now for 17th and 18th places, albeit separated by 10 laps, could so easily have been a battle right up at the front of the sharp end of the field.
And lapping quickly, 204. Still in the 202s for below balloon, into the 202s now as well for Daryl O'Young, after whatever that was the delay for the Aston Martin, just inside the top 10, but chasing cars that he should be able to catch and pass, because it's two of the AM cars who've rapidly used up their joker laps, so therefore in less of a position to ultimately defend. Meantime, we have the Corvette in and serving a penalty, and it's been there for a minute so far.
Yes, that looks like it. That looks like it's a sort of penalty for an indiscretion rather than anything else, doesn't it?
You'd have thought, wouldn't you?
I have news of Aston Martin number 17. The problem was power steering.
There you go.
It was getting incredibly heavy after Daryl O'Young took over, so they brought it in, topped up the fluid. It seems okay at the moment, but they've got to monitor if they've got a leak, because obviously it'll get heavier and heavier, just as the driver's arms are getting heavier and heavier towards the end of the race. But it's been going fairly well, that car, actually, through the night. So unfortunately, of course, it lost the sister car. Number 7 was taken out very early on.
Yeah, still in the top 10, but as Graham noted, having lost a couple of minutes on that last pit stop. Thank you for that, Bruce. I'm reminded of last year, actually, with this long stop and hold for the 21 Corvette, that just possibly it's for a purple flag infringement at some point during the night, because I seem to remember last year something similar happened in that all of the Code 60 infringements were kind of accumulated together, and once the timekeepers and all the officials in race control had woken up and decided what penalties should be awarded, they were all assessed in the early hours of the morning when everybody could see them, rather than in the dead of night when maybe they would have gone unnoticed. So I just wonder if that's what is happening for the number 21 Corvette there, which is in 4th place overall, and has now spent 2 and 3/4 minutes. It's heading towards its 3 minutes at rest now. And that is the sort of time penalty that would be assessed for a speeding during a Code 60.
Did he perhaps pit during a Code 60?
No,
because he wasn't in the top 5.
No, but certainly for speeding during a Code 60 would be assessed like this. And I'm pretty sure these were assessed, as I say, when a bit more publicly, I think, and that's the reason why they do them. Because if you do them at 2 o'clock in the morning, then nobody really notices that you've been
named and shamed.
Whereas do it now, and everybody thinks, "What's that car doing stuck there?" Oh, he did speeding in a Code 60.
Naughty boy.
Has a bit more of an impact.
Now we, I think, have had the 40 GDL Porsche rejoin, but now the 41 is in the garage. Might this be brakes?
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I think as the daytime temperature warms up, it might be the case. The Viper pokes his nose out of the garage.
Thought I heard a rumble a moment ago, and we did. 8.3 liters.
Heads down the pit lane.
And as he leaves, John Dillon.
That's what we'd call a lump.
Yes, indeed. John Dillon down pit lane 2.
Good heavens. Going on now 4 minutes stationary. Ouch.
And away he goes.
So it was about a 4:15 penalty. Man, oh man. That is going to open the door for Ivo Brukas in the number 19 car.
And in fact,
reclaim the position.
That's definitely going to happen. It's already onto the same lap, and that doesn't account for either this part of the stop or indeed the fueling. So Brukas will be back through and into 4th position overall. And that's a hard-won position.
The other thing which makes me think it's a Code 60 infringement is the presence of Harold Rösler, the chief of the timekeeping company. He's not the chief timekeeper, he's the chief of the timekeeping company. And he's down there talking to the crew chief for the Corvette. And I think he was probably therefore involved in the assessment of that penalty, which makes me think, seeing as the Code 60 infringements are measured by the timekeepers, that that's the reason why it was one of those. So that will have hurt the Corvette, and indeed allows the number 19 AM Mercedes back up into 4th place, doesn't it? And then the next thing we're going to get is all 3 of the top
whole host of pit stops coming up. Marc
in.
Basseng should be coming in very soon. Rennie Munich is getting ready to take over Mercedes number 38, lying in 2nd place, the all-Incal car that's gone so well. And as the clock ticks down, obviously next in the cycle would be, after Rennie Munich, will be Rob Huff to take it perhaps towards the finish.
Yes, and that car is constrained by time, which means it'll probably be first, but close on its heels will be following the Stadler Motorsport Porsche, the Christian Engelhardt car that leads the race, and the Black Falcon Mercedes Hubert Haupt at the wheel of that one. So all 3 of them are going to be coming in, as we mentioned to you a little while ago, Bruce, pretty much within a couple of laps of each other, and on the track, at least 2 of them are running. No, it's not. It's a different car going through there. Sorry, I thought they were running very close together on the track as well. So we'll try and pick them out to ease the pain. But as often happens in these situations, you have a period of about 3/4 of an hour with no action at all in the pits, and then a period of 10 minutes when everything happens.
Question for Bruce. Who's in the 888 now, Bruce? I don't think Bruce can hear me at the moment, because he did say he was going to try and have a chat with Jordan Grogor, but still shown aboard the car, so that must be another one where they've forgotten to flip the driver switch. But the pace in that car is very good. 2:05.2, 2:05.5. Triple Eight car now running 8th. I'll try again with Bruce down in pit lane, because may well have been in the dead spot. Just wondered, Bruce, could we confirm who's aboard the Triple Eight car at the moment?
It's still Jordan Groger. He hasn't come in.
Okay, fine.
In fact, they're not even quite ready for him, so I suggest he's staying out a while longer. As I say that, they bring out the little board that says, has a dragon on the top, says stop, ignite, reset. Haven't a clue what it means, obviously. But no tyres are being brought out.
Well, that would explain the consistency we're seeing. Well, the mid or low 205s from Jordan Groger in what has to rank
metronomic
as one of the stints of the race.
I think in Peter Ustinof's fantastic Grand Prix du Roc, they're just calling him in because they thought of a new insult.
Excellent.
So 7 minutes and we'll have 3.5 hours to go, and the voice of Radio Le Mans, John Hindhaugh, will be back with you and take you all the way to the checkered flag in the 9th running of Dunlop 24 Hours of Dubai.
John's just in the ante-room. We have, for the purposes of practicing, getting very, very excited indeed. Lots of things going on in there we don't know about. We do know that no Sunderland football is allowed.
Nothing but Sunderland football.
I've had some hard stare downs in my time, but that one beats them.
That was pretty.
That was pretty. Yeah. I'll leave. Yeah.
You wanted to go there. Be forewarned, Bruce Jones. Here comes Jordan Groger.
Triple Eight.
Triple Eight makes his appearance on pit road, and on the pit lane speed limiter, 40 kilometers an hour, will work his way down to the ever expectant tall Welshman.
And meantime, the longest stop from the Corvette has left him down in 7th position.
So Jordan Groger stopping from 8th place, having just moved ahead of the number 17 Aston Martin, and it's a you can't have any tyres, Squire, off you go, don't stall the car. I think you can forget that, because Jordan Groger, the South African driver, been doing a fantastic job for Dragon Racing, up into 8th place overall. Now he's going for a spot of fuel, and 2nd in the A6 AM class, still being led, of course, by car number 21, the V8 Racing Chevrolet, which is in, I believe, 4th place at the moment.
Ivor Brooker's using up that left rear tire a little bit. Smoke coming off of it, coming into turn 14. That's not a good way to make that tire last.
No.
The tire that's the problematic one for everyone.
Sorry, can I just correct my obvious error there? I meant the GDL Racing Mercedes. Number 19 is leading A6 AM, not the V8 Racing number 21 Chevrolet. I apologise.
Well, I think it's quite correct that you should, because we are immediately getting leagues of complaints on that one. I have to say,
I was offended.
I don't know about you, but I
expect nothing less. I'm just taking myself out of the back of the paddock and give myself a kicking, okay?
I think a revolver with one bullet is the only decent way out.
Do it for your family, Bruce. Spare them the shame. Oh, good heavens.
Dear me. Okay, next potential battle out there is Pierre Arret, who is pulled back to within 30 seconds of the number 19 Mercedes, but I think Pierre must be one of the next ones that owes us a stop.
Yeah.
Other than the leader.
and the number 19 is only just 18 minutes into his stint. 16.
But you're right, looking down that time scoring screen, we are going to have, in pretty short order, 4 or 5 out of the top 6 down pit lane pretty soon, Paul.
Yeah, that's right. Having also lost the Valkenhorst BMW, not lost it, but had that in the pits, Daniela Schmidt, who was closing. Here comes Mark Basseng then, 5-10 minutes short of his 2 hours, so that's an hour and 50 minutes, very close to his limit. He'll be handing the allinkle.com René Munich car over to the man.
Yeah, he's coming down the pit lane. Yeah,
Bruce.
Mark Basseng on board that at the moment, but not for much longer. He's about 20 metres to go. Woomph clonks the marker board.
The race leader is in as well, Bruce.
Tire change all round, and I'm getting ready for number 20 to come in, because they're just 2-3 garages further away. We've got Rolf Eichen winding his arms around, trying to get himself ready to get into that car. It's just coming past the 38. God, what a cloud of dust. It's come past the 38 Mercedes. René Munich on board. I'm going to turn and have a look. It's going to be new tyres all around. Out jumps the red-suited Christian Engelhardt, who's been leading the race, and his place is being taken by Rolf Eichen, who was also doing some very good laps in the number 20 Stadler Motorsport Porsche through the night. The big rumble, the rat-a-tat-tat machine gun sound of the 38 Mercedes as that pulls away All-Inkle Motorsport. That's in second, but about 3 laps behind the car that's still stationary as the last of the wheels are being attached to it. New tyres for the number 20 Stadler Motorsport Porsche. Rolf Eichen, the Swiss driver, will be taking over, and going out. The car is down on the ground, and off it goes.
Also coming into the pits, the number 123, Stanislav Eskinov in the SP2 leading Nissan GT Academy 370Z, and they're going to pull that car right back into the garage area. So no question, just pulled it up, and the crew is backing it into the garage area. So some work as the bonnet goes up before the car even comes to a stop in the garage area. So we'll try and get you an update as to what's going on there. But that's the SP2 leader. And they have, let's see, Graham, how big of a lead do they have?
SP2.
Pretty massive.
Good grief, where are we?
They're right there in 24th on 445
It's a long
laps.
way back, isn't it, now? That's his 445, and the SP2.
It's the 136 with Gerard
it's
Lopez.
46 laps.
Yeah, 46 laps. So they've got some time to work on that car. Hopefully, it isn't anything too difficult to fix or too drastic.
I don't think we said, but we should tell you who got into the number 2 as well, because Hubert Haupt has handed that over to, I'm assuming, Adam Christodoulou. And if Bruce knows anything to the contrary, I'm sure he'll let us know. But Christodoulou is sort of there on the rotation. We've got René Munich into the second-placed car number 38 that was driven by Mark Basseng, and Rolf Eichen back into the race-leading Stadler Motorsport number 20, as all 3 cars were in the pit simultaneously at the same time as you absolutely called it correctly, Graham. 4 out of the top 5 were simultaneously in the pits, because Pierre Herret was there as well in the Ferrari 458.
Hubert Haupt serving a 2-minute plus penalty, about a 2.5-minute penalty for the 2 car, has now made it to his pit box.
Yeah, and we are having a driver change. Hubert Haupt has hopped out. I'm still some distance down the pit lane. Someone else has got in. That's helpful, isn't it? But let's face it, it probably is Adam Christodoulou going to the number 2 Mercedes. Gradually showing there clear. He's still being strapped in. The silver helmet with the red stripe is Hubert Haupt climbing out of the car, I believe. So it is, and down goes the door. As I get there, the car should rejoin the race, and I'm fairly sure that's Christodoulou on board. Fires up the engine and off he goes. Tyres all round, brand new.
So within a couple of shakes of a gnat's whisker, we've got the whole of the top 6 all refueled and out on the circuit again. Also in 7th place, another car that came in very just at the start of that, Valkenhorst Motorsports BMW Z4, which now has Ralf Overhaus out at the wheel of. He has a 2-lap margin on the car behind him, which is the Aston Martin of Darrell O'Young, and a 2-lap disadvantage on the car in front of him. At least they're both, in fact, all three cars in the A6 Pro class. The only one that's messing up the order is that GDL Mercedes, which has really outperformed in the hands of Duncan Huysman and Ivo Breukers, along with Team Oda, Gianluca De Lorenzi and Luke Brahms.
And how many jokers do they have left?
They have...
Because they have 90 minutes left to use them.
Indeed. They've used 8 of them.
So they have 2 left.
At least they had used 8 of them when I last got the bulletin through. So they have 2, or possibly 1, depending if they need to have one kind of in their back pockets.
So, as we said, 10:32 actually here in Dubai, and we are 3.5 hours to the finish of this 24-hour endurance classic, what is becoming a classic. That's a word that is many times overused, but I think in this case, Paul, it is appropriate.
Yes, it is, in its own way, and I think that's important because I don't think any 24-hour race can really kind of capture the imagination unless it offers something different to the spectator, either the casual spectator who's just browsing through on the TV, to the dedicated spectator who's trying to follow it using all the internet resources that might be available to him.
Which are vast.
Which there are many of them. Whether they're vast or not, I don't know, but there are certainly many of them. All the people who are here, and I think you were commenting on that earlier on, you know, there is a fairly large Western community who lives in the area. There is a certain wealth in the area which associates itself with the kind of cars which the GTs are, and I think there's quite a few people coming along, not necessarily to look at their next car that they're going to buy, but just to say, hey, this is going to be fun. We'll watch these cars, watch them get dirtier and dirtier as the race goes on. We'll pick out our winners. We'll get ourselves a program and we'll cross them off as they retire. And that's all part of the experience of watching a 24-hour race, which you just don't get if you go to seeing a short race, do you?
Yeah, no, you don't get the full Monty, as it were.
No, absolutely, and I think that you know that's part of the fun of it all. And then, as the race works towards its end, you kind of get the car that you haven't seen since the middle of the night that suddenly comes out of the garage wrapped in sticky tape and sounding a bit like it's had 1 or 2 of its cylinders blocked off, and it probably has.
Plug wire or 2 pulled.
And then there's the other thing that always happens in the last few hours of an endurance race is something dramatic happens, something that we said we'd never have expected.
Couldn't happen.
So we're waiting to expect the unexpected.
Always expect the unexpected.
You got that right.
It's those unknown unknowns that get you. The known unknowns you can plan for, but those unknown unknowns, it's the killer.
That's why you have me, isn't it, John?
You know,
who do you think said that?
You know why I'm most proud of you?
Why?
Because you did that on as little sleep as you've had. I just stumbled all over that. That was well done.
I like to embrace your culture as well. Having spent so much time in the United States.
ESPN paid me today. Yay, my favorite.
So you're listening to RadioLeMans.com as we head in towards the last 3.5 hours now. In fact, we're inside that. And I absolutely concur with what Paul was saying there, that something is bound to happen. There are a lot of tired people up and down the pit lane.
Not just down the pit lane.
Well, no, indeed. They're a fine time if you are here listening to us on 87.6 FM to head off to Cafe Nero and get a large shot of something reviving in the middle of the pit lane up on the first floor of the suites. Guys were doing a roaring trade this morning and the smell was absolutely outstanding. Good morning to Terence and the team down there. Let's head down to the powered by Nissan pit lane. Bruce Jones, how are you feeling,
have
big
a problem
fella?
for car 121. It's the Red Camel Racing Seat that its pit garage is near pit entry, but it couldn't start. They went and got another battery, put it in. It's still not started, but the boys are putting their back into it. And just as the 108 Renault tries to get out of the pit lane, they push it past in front, and finally it takes. So just what you need when you've been working for 21 hours. Well, more than that, because obviously that was the start of the race. And anyhow, they got the Red Camel Seat going. And yes, the smell of coffee, John, at this time in the morning is a very welcome one indeed.
Did you manage to get a bacon sandwich, Bruce?
Don't say those words together, bacon and sandwich. No, I haven't had one yet. Sobbing.
Lunch starts at 11, Bruce. So 204.532 for the A6 AM14 car. That's a joker lap there. You're just joining us and haven't really caught on. That's the spirit of the race. Ferrari. The AM cars get some performance brakes, but they aren't allowed to go any quicker than 205. It's like bracket racing in drag terms. And if you break out the bracket, you, in drag terms, get disqualified. If you break out the bracket here, you use what's called a joker lap. You have 10 of them. They can only be used in the first 22 hours of the race. And once they're gone, they're gone.
And the Spirit of the Race 2 car, that number 14, has now used 7 out of its 10. So it might as well
go for it now.
Get on with it.
SP2 class leader about to...
That's one,
in fact, is in. It's the 123 Nissan, Bruce.
123, and long ago I wrote it down. It had a problem with the water leak. It seemed to come in again with the water leak. I don't know what happened when Nick was on board, but that's what they're working on again. So it's leading the class, the 123 Nissan 370Z. That's in the SP2 class, but having a drink, I think we can say at the moment.
It's Bruce Jones down in the pit lane. Paul Truswell, John Hindhaugh and Bruce Jones for this portion. We've got Nick Damon coming online in around about 20 minutes time when we go back to our syndicated TV broadcasting. But if you're watching all our streaming pictures on www.24hseries.com, they will continue right through to the end of the race without interruption. So if your favourite TV station is going for ad breaks, you can miss them out by staying on the World Wide Web. And also, of course, you get the added benefit of all of that information. Into the pit lane comes Darrell O'Young, the popular Hong Kong Chinese-based driver. 7th position in class for the number 17 car.
Yeah, 8th overall. He was 8th overall last time he came into the pits, and then had a longer pit stop as they had to top up the power steering fluid, and that dropped him down to 10th. So Darrell will be hoping that, or he'll know whether the power steering is working all right or not by how exhausted he is, and Bruce will no doubt be able to tell us how much of an effort it is to be driving that Aston at the moment.
What other ailments have befallen the number 1 car? Because it was knocking on the door of the top 10 not so very long ago, Paul.
Yes, I'm not quite sure that the team ever got to the bottom of it. It was one of those mystery problems, and as far as I know, it's still sitting in the pit lane.
Yes, it is.
After many, probably hours.
2 hours now.
Yeah, I was going to say not many hours, but I was going to say many minutes, but several hours of stationary. 2 hours stationary for the number 1 Black Falcon car, and I'm
hot favourites, you've got to
thinking that car is going to turn into a last lap special, but it's not going to be featuring very strongly, which is a great shame because all the pieces were in place, the driver lineup was right, the cars seemed to be on the pace, and for the first quarter of the race was drawing away from the rest of the field.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? You can try and put everything together, but sometimes it just isn't your day. And I know Alan McNish says you make your own look, and I understand what he means by that. And obviously, having worked with Audi and Porsche in the past, you can understand why Al says that. Hello to Alan McNish, by the way. Not sure he'll be up and around at 7:41 in Monaco, but you never know. You might be tuned in. And don't forget, you can tweet at Radio Le Mans and at Specutainment. Car number 17, Bruce. Car number 17, Bruce?
Car number 17, yes. Sorry, just diving out of the garage and still the power steering leak, but clearly it's far more than it was before. It's emptying itself faster. Well, hopefully not faster than they can put it in, or they'll be over and out. But it's sitting in the garage, nose in, and they're still pouring stuff in. Let's have a word with Richard Lyons, who just luckily came here. Richard, still a power steering leak, but clearly getting a bit worse.
Yeah, well, you know, we just keep on topping it up, so, you know, it's inevitable. It's going to keep on coming back, not unless we take it apart and replace it, but, you know, we're trying to push on through. We've came so far, so you never know.
So what's team boss Mark Goddard saying? Just putting the driving telling to man up, be a bit tough. Who needs power steering, frankly?
Well, that's what the guys, but, you know, it's a bit more difficult, and actually the problem is whenever you get in traffic and you've got to correct it, that's the problem. You know, if you're driving smooth, you can probably cope with it, but it comes down to a safety thing in the end.
Richard, tough luck. Have a shot later. He's not a lightweight, though.
No. I remember Robin Liddell at Daytona, I think 3 or 4 years ago, lost the power steering and did an hour and 3/4 or 2 hours towards the end of the race with no power steering whatsoever. Now, granted, I think, I don't know. I was going to say I think it was a Porsche, but I'm not sure about that now. But I remember talking to him afterwards, and his forearms were pumped up like Popeye. I kid you not. And the issue is that, of course, the rack is so short, so that you don't have to put, when I mean that you don't have to put so much turning from lock to lock, so that trying to move it when it's not power assisted is difficult enough. When it's loaded up and you've got aero on it through the fast corners, it's nigh on impossible to move. It's a hell of a thing to do.
Anybody who says they could do it without power steering has never had the power steering go out on their street car.
Even on a street car, yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other aspect which was interesting there from Richard Lyons was it's not so much the normal flowing lap, it's the one where you're in the traffic and you're having to do a bit of dodging and weaving and dipping and diving. That's what really takes it out of you.
And it's the quick correction, as he said there. You know, you're used to not holding the steering wheel very hard. When you're good at race driving, you don't grip the wheel hard, because that's just putting more pressure on your forearms as well. That tires you, that takes... Look at what we're watching at the moment in the Viper. Look how easy they are on the steering wheel. Look, it's almost fingertips. Jackie Stewart would tell you, formula finesse. Drive with your fingertips. And then that means that you've got to be quick hands if the car starts moving around, and it does here quite a lot because of the sand and the debris, the wind changing, etc., etc.
Other cars.
Yeah. People doing strange things in front of you. Oh, no, that's just the drive back to the hotel. The 66 Attempto Racing Porsche has been one of our onboards cameras all the way through the race, and there it is down into turn number 1 with Adam Christodoulou sliding through gracefully in the Mercedes-Benz. You think you're doing the greatest lap in the world, and here comes Adam. And you see, look, this is exactly what we're talking about. Look how you've got to work the traffic through 4, ride the curb on the left, absolutely ham the curb on the right if you want to, all 4 wheels, and then let the car breathe through. You can miss the apex. You would have thought you needed to be in miles before that. That's through 6 and 7. Now up to the carousel at turn number 8. Long left-hander down the inside of the BMW that's there. Just drag it back to the left a bit. Lovely. Now let it drift out to the right.
Both do it pretty much perfectly.
That was really nice, even with traffic there. And the Mercedes-Benz not getting away from the Porsche. And the 66 car is another A6 Pro category, so Adam Christodoulou pushing but not too much. Try and find the apex of turn 10 with Adam, which Adam does not. Looked like he missed his braking point just slightly there. Very different from a single-seater. If you can't haul it back into the apex and monster it in Now turn 12, another one where you turn in and then drop over the top of the brow, change of camber right there in the middle of the corner. Down to 13, the very fast left-hander. Really, you'd want to be on the right-hand side of the road, but traffic stopping you doing that at the moment. Perhaps just a little tap of the brakes, yes, from Adam as you come down and then across to the right-hand side of the road before you hit 14. As now we flick back to the onboard of the number 12, the Viper. Still going around and around, Paul.
Just in the last 15 minutes since that little flurry of pit stops that we had trying to evaluate the overall impact on them, well, it's good news for the Stadler Motorsport team because Rolf Nijken, who is now out at the wheel of the leading car, number 20, has stretched his lead from under 6 minutes to very nearly 6.5 minutes, and that was due partly as a result of a 17-second quicker pit stop, but also as a result of Nijken now, since he's been out there, lapping considerably more quickly than the All-Inkle Motorsports car driven, the Mercedes driven by René Munich. So that gap, as I say, is stretched out to very nearly 6.5 minutes now. And then the gap between second and third back to Adam Christodoulou, that gap has gone out as well because as Bruce was telling us, if you were listening at the time, Bruce having the number 2 car having a longer stop to take care of some penalties that were being assessed on it. So the gap from second to third.
I'm always listening, Paul. Always listening.
Excellent. But I just like to kind of repeat it in case some people didn't hear.
Other people aren't. AKA Gainsey has tweeted to tell us that the team Black Falcon put out a tweet from their official account about an hour ago that Black Falcon won. The Abu Dhabi Racing by Black Falcon was officially retired. No specific problem has been mentioned, but that car will do no more.
Right, so it's completed 431 laps. And
Nick Collins said, what happened to the other Porsche? Narrow it down, Nick.
Which other Porsche?
Literally, he's just tweeted.
The other one.
Specutainment. What happened to the other Porsche? Come on, Nick.
I think he means the 4.
Yeah, I think he do.
Yeah, make him go through the trouble.
The number 4 FAC Auto Tech car was leading and
I went to dinner.
Looking strong, and you know, they were reeling off the laps as we tend to see white Porsches do, and then all of a sudden gearbox went and it needed there was some transmission issue. It had a couple of drive shafts on it, as I remember, and that was that really. It's still running.
It is still going round.
Conor De Felipe has just done a 2 minutes .483, which is less than 4/10 away from the car's best, and he's sitting down in 18th position.
Yeah, they're having a battle for honour now with the Ram Racing Ferrari.
Yeah, the battle of the comeback kings. I'm surprised that 30 hasn't gone further up the field.
They've had a couple more hiccups and a couple of long pit stops.
Marco Seyfried finds some time and puts the 458 Ferrari's fastest time of the race in with a merely 21 and a bit hours, 22 and a bit hours in 201.213. So well done to Marco. A little bit less traffic at this time, mate.
That's right. I mean, that car has been going... I'm not going to say it. I'm saying something else. That car has been going faster and faster as the race has progressed. Because that's not the first time that Marco has improved its time. Pierre Caffer was improving its time as well earlier in the race. So they seem to have just been working on the setup as the race has gone on. And
he has his sights set on 4th place in the pro category, 5th place overall at this point, but 4th in the category as he is trying to chase down the number 21 Corvette with Wolf Nathan behind the wheel of the Corvette at this point. And Wolf on that last lap turned a 2:06.2. So when Marco Seyfried comes through, he should be under 40 seconds.
And also just noticing that Karun Chanduk has gone back up into a podium position in the 1-2-60 International SP2 Nissan, the RGN Nissan 370.
Where there's a group of guys that haven't given up.
And they've been having a hell of a battle with the 144 car, and is back on the podium now. And their sister car, of course, the 123, in the pits at the moment. and has been for
23 minutes.
23 minutes, but still leads.
Yeah, they had a 16-lap lead when they went into the pits.
Right, 4:45 laps at the moment. And where is the next SP2 car? It's on the other page, so they've still got, that's 407. Eric Lux has just come out of the pits in the 136 car. That's the Lotus, isn't it? No, sorry,
no,
that's the Musler. It's the Musler.
Yes.
The 136. Eric Lux in that car. And the Camels are being fueled.
The podium beasts are being readied for
podium transport, being fueled up for later.
Nick. Getting ready for Nick.
About 9 minutes away from our next schedule TV, and we will run to the end on broadcast TV. But of course, if you're watching and listening on the World Wide Web at www.24hseries.com, you can stay with that all the way through.
The 19 car, the leader in GT3 A6AM, has made a call to the pits.
And I'm not happy. Well, I'm not happy. A little bit concerned here because this car has made 2 pit stops in fairly short order. I mean, it looks fairly routine, but they've just changed the driver. They've got tyres out for it, but I think there is.
Looks like some bench racing going. You know, it looks like he's signaling that there was contact. He took his hands and put them together. Yeah, they're going back into the garage area. So this is going to be an issue. Now let's see. They have a 5-lap lead at this point over the second-place car, which is Jordan Groger, who probably is going to be doing a pit stop fairly soon, isn't he, Paul? Given that he's on his second stint, it's been forever since he's been out of that car.
Yes, I think he's got another 10, 15 minutes at most, you're right, before we get Jordan into the pits. And this has been a good stint from Jordan Groger. He's put in the lap times, he's improved the car's position. It's now solidly in the top 10 and well placed in its class. John?
Looking at a Mercedes-Benz in the pits on the cameras, that's the GGL racing car, and that is the lead AM car, is it not?
Yes, it is.
That's what we've been talking about.
Sorry, I was looking at something else and then sort of saw it and went, ah!
Yeah, no, it's had 2 pit stops in short order. Ivo Breukers took it out, and I would say it's broken under him, but it's that would be not suitable.
He was running it pretty hard. Remember, he had lockup on the left rear wheel going into the hairpin.
Yes.
So, yeah. Into the back straightaway, rather.
Yes, I just didn't want to say that Breukers broke it.
Oh.
I didn't want to say that.
I have a very bad feeling that you were going to say that anyway. I am going to allow you that because it's so far through the race.
Thank you.
That's your joker pun.
Okay, I'll play my joker for that.
How many joker puns does he get?
That's it.
Oh,
good puns are fine, but that was a joker pun.
But
picky with his puns, isn't he, Paul?
Whilst the car is in the garage, so that does give Jordan Groger the opportunity to close the gap, though within, what should we say, 3 laps, Jordan will be in the pits himself with the Dragon Racing Triple 8 car.
Let's go down to that pit, the GTL Racing Mercedes-Benz. It's all been going so well for them, and Bruce Jones has Ivo Breukers with him.
Ivo had been going so well, and now car 19's in the garage again. What's the problem?
The problem was the ABS was not working, and I came in with destroyed front tires. Then I went out, and I was taking it easy, and suddenly Cleo turned in earlier than I expected. He didn't see me, and he hit the left front, and I hope we can repair it and go out. I hope it's only steering rod. We're going really well, and I hope we will not spoil our first place.
Yeah, well, you're certainly well clear in the class, so fingers crossed for GDL Racing. Mercedes number 19. Thank you, Ivo Breukers. Ever enthusiastic there.
Oh, I feel for him. I feel for him. He's got his very lovely wife and long-suffering wife here with him. And they've only got 4 laps left of the lead.
You might want to explain the long-suffering line. You might want to explain the long-suffering line.
Well, anybody who is a wife of someone whose life revolves around doing endurance motor racing, you know. There was we met up at the Welcome Barbecue, and Ivor introduced us. He was well up for this, and she explained that between watching RC racing on Motors TV and listening to Radio Le Mans, she can't really get much of a word in back at the Breukers household. And as soon as she heard us all talk, yes, you're the guys that do the radio. I listen to you in the kitchen all the time. Well, when I say listening, I mean Ivor has it on all the time.
Family that races together stays together.
Very good. So 3 minutes away from our next and final run of broadcast television. If you need to leave the house, you can take radiolemans.com with you, of course, on either tune-in or just by hitting the live button on your smartphone. As the number 14 team manager is asked to go to the clerk of the course, near miss. It's a near hit, we should say, shouldn't we?
Yeah, really.
Paul Dallalana in the 76 there, just avoiding an errant.
So is Nick getting his final linseed oil rub?
Halibut, yeah, halibut oil being rubbed down as the leader goes through. Nick Damon will be introducing the final tranche of live television, taking us through to the end of the race with radiolemans.com commentary, and you'll hear that all the way through to after the flag.
We never had to rub you down with oil when you were doing ESPN.
I don't want to give my secrets away, though. You don't know what I did in private. What Brian Till and I got up to psych ourselves up for those broadcasters.
Paul, change the subject quickly. Quickly.
Marco Seefried is now only 24 seconds behind Wolf Nathan, and is closing in at a race of knots, over 3 seconds. That's the battle for 4th and 5th overall and in pro. And next time around, he might even be within, not quite within sight of him, but not far away. Jordan Groger, who is still behind the wheel of the 888 Dragon Racing Ferrari, that team that came with such high hopes, do have their names on all of the cars. They're a local based team. I wonder if they can overhaul a couple of laps yet left, so the GDL Mercedes-Benz mechanics having to work flat out.
If they can get it fixed, this could shape up to be a ding-dong battle in the last 2 hours between the 888 and the 19.
And who will then criticise Jordan Groger's very quick lap times that he put in when he was using up those jokers? They were they suddenly turned into quite crucial laps, don't they, Jim?
Yeah, and it was perfectly timed.
So we are heading towards the last 3 hours of the Dunlop 24 Hours of Dubai for 2014. If you have a TV syndication in your area, stand by, because we're about to get Nick Damon to introduce the last 3 hours of this motor race.
Running of the Dunlop Dubai 24 Hours. Well, you went away from us 9 hours ago. We've just seen a huge amount of excitement. We've seen two-time defending champion had hit problems. But since then, there has been so much action that I actually can't sum it up in the amount of time I've got for this introduction. So instead, I'm going to get the team from Radio Le Mans to help me out. That's Paul Truswell, Jim Roller, and with all what's been going on in an amazingly dramatic last few hours, first, it's John Hindhaugh.
Oh, thanks very much, Nick. Yeah, give us the easy one to do. as the sunshine is beginning to break through. A little hazy morning here. Here's how it stands after 21 hours, 3 to go. Stadler Motorsports Porsche leads the 38 All Inkle Munich Motorsport Mercedes-Benz and Black Falcon in third position, with what was the pole-sitting car some 21 hours ago, the Corvette in fourth position, and a Ferrari in fifth. Let's tell you what's happening right now, because we do have an interesting story with the A6 AM car. The 19 of Ivo Bruches has just brought that car into pits with a problem with the steering, and Jordan Groger on the 888 machine. This is a battle for 7th and 8th overall, but it is also for the top step of the podium in the GT A6, effectively the GT3 AM podium and the race victory. Paul Truswell and Jim Roller, where do you start in the nighttime hours? It was a long night, 13 hours and 19 minutes in terms of sunrise to sunset, with a little bit of gloaming, but not very much on either side of that. And we've seen something that we're really not very used to nowadays in motorsport, and particularly in endurance racing. We have seen cars that have broken down, for the most part, not due to accident and incident, but more just through the, I think, Paul, just through the unbelievable pace that we've seen here.
It's been a race of attrition, isn't it? I mean,
it's a long time since we've used those words.
Exactly so. But having said that, a lot of it was due to mechanical breakdowns. I think the point I would start would be at the Ram Racing Ferrari, because that had worked its way through to the front of the field, given that we'd already had the number 1 Black Falcon Mercedes drop back. That had worked its way through to the front of the field by virtue of some very good strategy, double stinting the tyres.
Well, when our TV audience was last with us, the number 1 car was still leading.
Yeah, and that one went out first of all, and has had all sorts of problems, and we now hear has been retired. This is the leader, by the way. This is the number 20 Stadler Motorsport Porsche. Then Ram as you say, Ram came through the field, but we've had actually a cornucopia of talent at the head of the field. Some big names and some big teams who, between them, any one of them could, possibly should have won this race, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about the Abu Dhabi Black Falcon car, which led for so long, and then after that, the 4 car, the FAC Motorsport Porsche, took over and really looked like they had this thing, had a stranglehold on the race. Then they had transmission trouble, and then other cars that then went, that opened the door for, including the number 30 Ram Racing Ferrari, the chrome-colored car. They had trouble, and the 76 BMW that was definitely in with a shout.
Yep.
Poor Bill Auberlin was kind of the meat in the sandwich. He was a pinball, if you were, taking impacts front and rear in separate instances, and that's basically knocked all of those cars out of contention and left us with a very interesting top 5.
Which is headed by that number 20 car and the 38 Mercedes-Benz in second place, the number 2 Benz in third, with Adam Christodoulou, who's been pushing very hard indeed. And Paul, in terms of leaders and lead changes, already with just under 3 hours to go, we have surpassed what we saw here last year.
Not quite, actually.
Oh, have we not?
No, 26 leaders, 26 changes of lead between 9 different cars. That total of different cars surpasses last year's total, but the last year's race saw 28 changes of lead, but as you rightly observe, we've still got almost 3 hours of this one to go yet, so that can still change. But what's been the feature of the last 100 or so laps has been the way that the Stadler Motorsport entry, which currently leads, has just been able to eke out a bit of a margin, and that's not to say that it's safely in the lead by any manner or means. We've had 2 drivers complaining of gearbox problems on the car, and what did for the other Porsche, by which I mean the number 4 car,
for Nick Holland,
it was a gearbox problem. So I just wonder whether they're telling us all the problems or whether they're making up problems just to put other people into a false sense of security. In
the other classes, the number 42 Porsche 997 leads its class in 14th position. We've had all kinds of interesting battles in the SP3 category, but the 155 has settled into the lead there. Kasper Jensen at the wheel of that car for the moment, at least. The Perfection Racing Aston Martin Vantage V8, one of the older Aston Martins, and the 62 A5 leader, Roger Gruwels. That car actually is the car that's led, I think, from the start of the race in that category.
Florian Strauss leads the SP2 category in the Nissan GT Academy Graduates car.
And in D1, it's the 125, the little diesel, and those cars are fighting them through, as well as the A2 106 Jan Serup and Martin Niederscheider in the A3T. That's the 92nd, that's the 97 rather, in 35th position. All of the leaders in class now inside the top 40, and remember we started with 79 cars. 2 hours and 53 minutes still to run for the 2014 Dunlop 24 Hours of Dubai, live from the Dubai Autodrome. And more drama as we have a car stopped on the back straight, and it is the number 12. This is the Viper that has been in and out of the pits for the whole race, but they are still in with a chance of a podium in their category, which is SP2. And that car is being attended in the middle of that very fast back straight at the moment. It will be if it can be towed back. That is the ethos of this type of racing, as we watch Jordan Groger down the inside of one of the Clios into turn number 10 at the end of that back straight, and he has just, Paul, taken over the lead in the A6 amateur category.
Exactly so, from a very disappointed Ivo Breukers at the wheel of the GDL Mercedes, which sustained some accident damage to the front left-hand corner following an ABS failure, and Ivo Breukers then had contact with another car that he thinks didn't see him.
He's also lost second place in that category. However, the new second place, the number 14 car, has just been asked to come into the pits by the stewards to fix a mechanical issue that may be of danger to the other competitors. And how do I know that? It's because there is a black flag with an orange disc on it being shown over the start-finish line with that car's number. The black and orange flag, the mechanical flag, has been shown. He will have to come in.
Affectionately known as the meatball.
The meatball in the States.
So in every single class practically then we've had action and drama, and that particular drama with the A6 AM class happening just in the last 10-15 minutes or so. Gianluca Di Lorenzi getting back out onto the car, back out onto the track. He is the GDL of the GDL team, and that Mercedes is going to be chasing as hard as it can.
And pictorial proof of the recovery of that number 12, the biggest engine in the field.
8.3 litres.
As into the pit lane comes the number 19 Mercedes-Benz. This is Gianluca Di Lorenzi coming in out of 11th position.
This is Breukers' car that clearly has further damage, or damage that he's not happy with.
I think this was an installation lap, Paul, because they brought him out. They were trying to fix the steering arm and sent him out to see if it was usable or not. Yeah, and see, he's trying to tell them that there's probably a little too much play in the steering wheel.
Judging by how much the front wheels were moving as Gianluca was turning the steering wheel, it turned about as much as it did on the first ever Airfix model that I made.
Oh, and BMW number 128. This is one of the little diesels in D1. And that car... Now, is that diesel smoke, or is that something more sinister as it blows across the circuit? The Core Oyster Racing team have not had the best of luck. It is right on the middle of the fast straight, the middle straight. They Lotus has barely turned any laps, and very quickly we've got a rescue vehicle there parking up behind it. And this is the time, I'm afraid, the last 2 hours and 49 minutes where things are starting to wear and people's concentration are going. I think that's an engine fire.
I think we have a Pope. First we had grey smoke.
Yeah.
Now we have white smoke.
Don't lift the bonnet, guys.
Yeah.
You will just give it the oxygen. Look underneath the front of that car, Jim.
Oh gosh.
That is black. That is an oil slick.
Yep.
The like of which has not been seen since the Exxon Valdez. As the 12 Viper is back into the pits and will be trying to be fettled. They will try and get that car out, Paul.
You never know where to look in an endurance race, do you? Also in the pits is Jordan Groger with the 888 Dragon Racing Ferrari. A great run. He's now leading the A6 the A6 AM class.
And Bruce Jones is down there, as you would expect.
I've been waiting a while. Mohamed Jawa has just taken over, so a very good stint from Jordan. We'll grab him in a moment. The team very happy. Team boss Leon Price high-fiving him. I remember last year Leon said he's not much of an oil trader, Jordan, but he can race a car. Because they both share a profession. So, yeah, the car looking pretty grubby, but it's all coming the way of the 888 Dragon Racing car. Don't forget the sister car, the number 88 car, was leading the A6 AM class easily when poor Dan Norris-Jones slipped up coming out of the pits and put it out. Let me try and get Jordan Groger for you while it's hot and happy. Can I borrow for a second? Jordan, the A6 AM class, great drive by the way, a couple of really good stints. Tell us about your use of the jokers. You put in some really quick laps to close up.
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, we decided in this last stint to use 3 or 4 of our jokers to close the gap. It was a strategic play, obviously thanks to Brad and Biggs and Leon and the crew. They called it right. We bided our time and let's see how it ends up.
Okay, thanks, Jordan. Well done.
So that car in the lead now of the category, and as Bruce rightly said, Paul, using the joker laps, the AM category has a minimum reference lap time, a brackets time, if you will, of 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And to help them along, you do get 10 gimmies, if you like, joker laps. But you really want to use those tactically, and the 888 team did that very, very well indeed in the early hours.
And it was the right time of day to do it because the track isn't quite so busy. There is daylight, but it's cold in the air, and that gives the engine as much power as it can want. However, following that pit stop, which was a scheduled pit stop, Jordan Groger had to hand the car over. He's lost the lead of the class now because that's gone back to the other Ferrari, the Spirit of the Race Ferrari, number 14, who's taken over the lead of the race. And we're going to have those 2 Ferraris to watch, battling it out. I'm not quite sure if they're going to be nose to tail, but they're going to be battling it out for the remainder of this race.
Here at the GDL pit with Duncan Heisman, one of the drivers of the 19 car. Duncan, we spoke on Radio Le Mans 2 or 3 hours ago, and things are looking great. You were leading the A6 amateur class. How quickly things can change in endurance racing.
I mean, this is the way it is. It's a shame because we were really looking good. We were even looking for a podium overall. We got an ABS failure, and one of the guys went out with the ABS failure, no problem. He locked 2 wheels, we changed new tires, and then on the outlap with cold tires, they hit a Clio and the steering house or the steering rack is broken, so we can't repair it. It's over. It's a shame because we were really looking good. I was really looking forward to a top 5 finish. And I mean, these things happen, but I mean, if you come towards the end, you need to take care.
So is the car completely done, or would you try and fix it and just do the last couple of laps?
We can't fix it because first we changed the push rod, and now the steering house or the rack, it's broken, so we can't change it.
It's very bad luck. Thank you, Duncan. An interesting point, actually, John, about the A6 AM class. You probably noticed we did the intro from the grandstand. It's the first time I've been able to see the cars actually come over the start-finish line. And on 2 occasions, the number 14 virtually slowed to a stop to make sure it wouldn't go over the 205, almost causing an accident, one of the small Seats behind it. So perhaps they do need to look into how they're running these timings, or, as Duncan suggested 3 or 4 hours ago, pull that amateur time down to an 03 or an 04.
Well, the other thing is you could balance it across the whole lap and the sectors rather than just the end lap time. Stuart Hall was telling us that he was doing that as well and looking at the delta. They have very, very good instrumentation in these cars. In the early years, Paul, we were talking about people having digital watches and things like that and stopwatches in the car. It's now all done automatically, driven by the electronics in the car.
Exactly, and a lot of the cars have GPS systems which are not necessarily going into the timekeeping system, but they are going back to the teams who are controlling the cars, not the teams who are looking after the cars. But I think there is a case to reduce the 2:05 lap time because the cars have moved on in the last 3 years. And even if they're still gentlemen drivers, they are now capable of driving them that much more quickly. Meanwhile, John...
More drama as we're looking at the second place car in 997 category, 7th overall, and now because of the problems with the cars around and pit stops for the 888, the leading car in A6 ARM, in GT3 ARM, the 14 car, has got a black flag.
Coming in now.
Remember, he had the meatball before, and he ignored it. And now you get the serious one.
Yes, and he's going to have also attracted the...
You'll probably get a penalty on
well, I was going to say, the clerk of the course will not be happy. The black and orange flag is shown for normally a mechanical issue into the pit lane now and into the penalty box. Melihov Ilya and Nick Damon is looking down there. He is getting a talking to, and they're having a look. Nick, what can you tell us?
Well, yeah, normally they just part them up and say you've got a penalty for so long, but he is getting the official, you've been a naughty boy or done something bad. Now, this is the guy who I saw virtually stopping twice on the start-finish line to avoid breaking the 2:05. That could be coincidence, but he is being told by the scrutineers, the judges of fact, that he's made a mistake. He's being held for some time, and now he moves on. So, in fact, he was held long enough to be told off. So that's a penalty variable by how much you go, yes, I agree. And the car that's currently in 7th, the 14 car, and well up in the GT3 as it is, or of course A6 AM, now trundles on to his pit box to complete some form of stop, I think.
First rule of being told off by the clerk of the course: don't argue, it's only costing you more time. Exactly, Bruce, you're down with the pit stop on that car. What is the mechanical, do we know?
No, not at all. Nothing that I can see. The car looks all present correct. The parts hanging on. They're just whacking on a set of new tyres. Aaron Scott's taken over, and Ilya Mendikov, well, I can't quite see his face. Big eyes, open eyes, and he's now gesticulating that it's not fair. But well, what did you expect? But so that the change in A6 AM going back and forward, because of course that took the lead while Jordan Groger was handing over treble eight. Treble eight now is back in the lead of A6 AM.
And John,
not quite in the lead yet, Bruce.
John,
he's come across through the start-finish line now, and when he does so, then he will be taking the lead. There he goes, and now you might be able to hear him go across the line.
And the big beneficiary here is the third place car, and that is the Lamborghini number 10. Jeroen Mul driving that car. That car's just been hanging around the top 10, the top 15, now on the podium of GT3 ARM, and could be even better than that. It will, I think, go up into second position because of the pit stop of that number 14 car. 2 hours and 40 minutes to go, live from Dubai. That's actually, gentlemen, looking to be a decent little battle in that A6.
That's going to be a very close battle.
Who's got the jokers left? That's going to be the question.
Right now, the number 10 car only has one left, and the number 888, last time we looked, had two left, right, Paul? Or is he down to one as well?
Absolutely right. The guy who's got the most left is number 14, but of course he's the one who's in the pits at the moment, having had the talking to and having a mechanical problem of some sort rectified.
Remember what Marty Kaufman, the famous American racing steward, used to say? don't be called in to talk to me because I speak very slowly.
Even if you think you're in the right, the more you argue, it's your time.
This week's returning contestant on Dig That Hole.
Yeah. So the leading car, still driven by Rolf Venetian, is turning 205s. René Munich is turning 205s as well. I actually think René Munich has driven very, very well in that number 38 car. He is the man behind the team. He's got quite a bit of experience of driving motor cars on and off road. It's what he's done for some time.
And I think it was Bruce who interviewed Mark Bessing earlier, and he asked him if René would be getting back into the car, and he said he really hoped he would. He said René was nervous about it, but was definitely good enough to do it, as he's capable, Mark said, of turning consistent 202s. So why shouldn't he get back in the car?
Yeah.
I think the other point about René is that he didn't really have a safety net because they only had 3 drivers in the car. If he didn't want to do it, that wasn't going to work. So he really had to stick with it. And so he was, and good that he did. Good performance from him. René Munich then in second place, comfortably so at the moment.
So the Aston Martin comes across the line. This is the Petronas sponsored car, and the 155 is leading the SP3 category. And they've had, as have many people, a real battle through the evening. Let's head down to Bruce Jones in the pits.
Ilya in here. We pulled into the
well, my apologies, it's
area.
Nick, but we're
what happened?
Struggling with the amount of radio frequencies from the cars at the moment.
And since
Nick
we're
will just
running in the A6 AM class,
the
we're
number
not
14
allowed
driver
to
and
go
drag him
below
into somewhere.
205, which is a bit of a problem if you don't see the predicted time. So we had to communicate it via the radio. And as the information came in too late, I was slowing down on the straight a couple of times. Then I've been told not to do it anymore. So I stopped doing it, and we were just lifting on the straights. And suddenly, after 5 or 6 stops, the stewards pulled me out and asked what's wrong with the car. Although, as far as I'm concerned, all the other guys in the A6 AM are doing exactly the same thing. So we're not quite sure.
So how fast could you go then? How much are you having to ease off now? We've got a rubbered-in track and less traffic.
No, a lot. The traffic has got so quick during the morning that I think you could do 59s easily. I don't really know because we have to go a lot slower. So we were just trying to save fuel and to lift on the straights. But I don't know what the stewards decided to.
Ilya, thank you very much. That's quite interesting, John, because I did actually see him do it, and I did think it was strange. And they then stopped doing it at the start-finish and did it down the straight, and they slowed down so much, the officials thought they had an engine problem and pulled them in, black and orange.
For the sound breakup, as I say, we're fighting an awful lot of telemetry. These cars are GT cars, but they are exceptionally sophisticated machinery and beaming backwards and forwards. A huge amount of information to the pit wall. Now
so that was, though, as we suspected, to try
to
put
off.
2 and 2 together on the
well spotted, Nick.
on the breakup. Yeah, Nick nailed that the officials were a little bit less than pleased that he was lifting off and almost collecting other cars.
Now you've got 35 minutes. If you have any penalties in the book at the moment, you must take them before midday here in Dubai. And the screen just reminding the teams that I'm not sure what the sanction is. If you haven't taken your penalties by 12 o'clock, then that means you've got penalties to take after 12 o'clock. I look expectantly at the font of all knowledge, Paul Truswell.
You get stop-and-go penalties in abundance, and the length of the word stop and the proximity of the word go, you get further and further apart. The other thing that you don't get after 12 o'clock is the right to use your jokers, because they don't allow you to use any unused jokers before after 12 o'clock, when there's 2 hours of the race remaining. So lots of things to think about, as always, in this race. I mean, there's always something. I can't remember which driver it was that said that he just couldn't quite get his head around all of the different rules and regulations there were. But it is a bit like a game of chess sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's all done in very, very good interest, and it's all done in the interests of sport. And I have to say, this has been a very memorable sporting contest. And, you know, I mean, we've kept saying it's not over yet. I mean, there is still action to be had in that AM class, with the Lamborghini number 10 now at the head of the AM class, but being chased down by Mohamed Jawar by just 3.3 seconds. They're out on the circuit, not nose to tail, but very close to it, with so number 10 ahead of number 888, and then not very far behind is the recovering number 14 Ferrari. And I'm just trying to work out, he's about another 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes behind.
Watching the pictures of another class leader, this is the 42, Stefan Belinsky, driven 997. These Porsche Cup cars have proved very impressive in endurance racing. Not originally built for that, of course. Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com, who has a full team out here covering the event. These cars originally, we see them in the National and the One Make Series, and the Carrera Cup, and of course so they support Formula One, but with a little bit of a kit from Weissach, the motorsport division of Porsche. They are very potent endurance racing machines.
They are. They look the part, they sound the part, and something like this, you hear one of these things out there by itself, you'd do well to actually tell the difference between this and a full house proper GT3 machine. They're a quick little car.
And of course, here in the Middle East, it's the first of the national or regional series to get the new body shape, the new 991s, and we do have a couple of 991s running in that, bizarrely, in that 997 class, and this is the new for 2014. The UK and the rest of the Europe only get them, and the US only get them this coming year, but they've had them since October time, because of course they run as a winter series.
And we saw them, of course, we saw around supporting the WEC in Bahrain, and they are very impressive. Actually, they're very impressive indeed. You would do very well, John, at first glance, to tell the difference between one of those and a GT3 car.
Going through some of the other class leaders, the number 123 Nissan has Florian Strauss at the wheel. Now, some of these drivers 3 months ago had never sat behind the wheel of a racing car. How can that happen? Well, they entered an online competition with the GT Academy, Nissan and Sony PlayStation. The best ones from various countries were selected to go to boot camp at Silverstone in the centre of the United Kingdom, put through fitness as well as driving tests. We have winners, and then Bob Neville and his wife Liz put these guys through a rigorous amount of racing to get them up to their International C licence. That's how they're here. The Clio coming down the start-finish line, just underlining the variety of cars that are here. And you see there the lap 57 Honda that is quite badly dinged up, but the Clio behind it, the Eva Solar car, is the 106.
Looks immaculate, doesn't it? It looks absolutely immaculate.
I mean, it looks like it's dirty, but it looks like it's rolled off the truck. I'm just trying to work out, is that one? I think that's one of our class leaders as well, isn't it? That's Jakob Christensen, Tom Christensen's brother. And Jakob, this was 2012's Danish endurance champion. He's got a heck of a lot of experience in Clios, and he leads the A2 class with the rest of his team.
Now, there's a quiz question for you. Who was the Danish endurance champion? It was Christensen, but which one?
Yeah, exactly. And there is the little 106 Clio. Proving, again, there's another one-make car, Graham, that really is meant to be running 26 minutes, not 24 hours.
And, you know, it has proved to be a very popular package across Europe and beyond, as we can see here today. There are hundreds of those things around for various iterations, down from when we had the Renault 5 TS Cup. Remember that one? And moving on through, and Renault been the masters of actually getting into this kind of grassroots level of national motorsport, the one-make tin tops, and provided very many of the current touring car crop with their first step on the ladder.
The 200 horsepower or something like that through the front wheels, a handful, but they do tend to understeer rather than oversteer, so they do tend to be quite controllable. The 86 Volkswagen Golf,
that's currently fourth in its class, John. It's in the A3T class, which is a 2-litre turbocharged engined car. It's Jaroslav Brudninski who's at the wheel at the moment, or he's just vacating the car to hand over to a co-driver.
Now that's Karen Chanduk, former Formula 1 driver and WEC driver too with GRM. And he is in the number 126 Nissan 370Z, which is currently third in SP2. But with the SP2 category suffering just a little bit, there's still half a chance. The Mosler is in second place, and his teammate that we already saw, Florian Strauss, is leading that category. But Karen Chanduk coming through in the sort of number that you can see there on the front, 51st position. It's the blue 51 that you can see. That is the International GT Academy car, if you like, or the International Nissan. And Darren Cox telling us yesterday, the man at the head of Nissan's Global Motorsport programme, that the Nissan GT3 GTR will be down in Bathurst, Australia, in the early part of February, with a full works effort for the 12 hours around the mountain. And that we'll also see that GT3 GTR here next year to try and take the overall victory here in the 24 hours of Dubai.
Not the first time we've seen one, of course, because it made its racing debut here, of course,
yeah.
John. It was the great idea where they got all the Nissan champions from the Global and the European Series to share that car. The likes of Tom Kimber-Smith. I think it was Lucas Adonis in that car. I think he might have been.
Yes, he was.
And Mikael Krum as well. But they have become rather the masters of finding lots of ways to activate their motorsport activities, haven't they? And GT Academy is by far the best example of that.
We're closing in, John, on the time for all good cars to come in for their pit stops. The top 3 or 4 cars will all come in round about the same time for routine pit stops and driver changes. They've all been out there for practically an hour. We've already had the BMW number 27, the Valkenhorst Motorsport car, in for its pit stop out of 6th place. We've already had the 21 Corvette out of 5th place for its pit stop, and the other 4 will be coming in very shortly, and by all that's normal, they'll all be fairly routine pit stops. But don't forget, we've had that message on the screen asking teams to ensure that any penalties that have to be taken are done so. So if there's been any infringements during the night to do with speeding during the Code 60s, you're breathing in because of that Ferrari, John.
Yeah, Matt Griffin going round the outside of the 152, the Ginetta, and Lee Moore, just unusually for Lee, not seeing Matt coming. Fortunately, there's a lot of runoff here, and Matt, the Irishman who resides in Northamptonshire in the middle of England, was able to take to town. Small town, but it is a town. He is the fastest Ferrari driver in Thrapston, and he was able to get it through Get it through on the outside. We will fix this moody beast and take it to the checkered flag, says the sticker on the driver's seat of the number 12 Viper. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, but looking by the look of the GC silhouette car that pulled in a very smoky, steamy, smelly sort of fashion, I don't think that one's going much further.
No, there is Matt Griffin, who, with Johnny Morlam, Jan Magnussen and the rest of the team, led the race until a contretemps with the number 17 Aston Martin hauled a radiator and cost them, well, just way too much time. There are 43 laps behind the leader, which is something like 90 minutes. And that has cost them any chance of a decent finish, never mind a podium. Ralph Venation continues to lead the motor race and just bangs out. He's pushed the 205 button on that car, the number 20, because he is cranking them out with metronomic accuracy.
Only because he wants to, not because he has to.
No, exactly.
He's not within the class that has to crank them out in that sort of range, but as I say, because...
No sense in taking chances. In comes the 458. Marco Seefried heads for the pit lane from 4th position in the number 458, which is a 458 Ferrari. 2:23 left, Paul. We should be getting the clever teams thinking about back counting their stops and brim-filling their tanks.
I think that's exactly what's going on with that Ferrari, because he hasn't been out there that long that he needs to. So unless he's got a problem, which we earnestly hope he doesn't, he's trying to go to the end of the race and work backwards now.
In from 4th place.
Go. Bruce Jones is down there.
Change all round, sorry, battery problem there. Pierre Caffer taking over, number 458. Come in from 4th place, very dusty, very dirty, as are all the cars still in the race. Cars down off the jacks, and still Pierre is being strapped in.
This, of course, John, the car most likely to profit from someone else's misfortune in a meaningful way now. 4th position is no place to be in an endurance race, is it?
Leader should be into the pits shortly.
In fact, the top 3, John, and in any order.
Chris Tadulu pushing on again there, Paul. 2:01.7. This has been a real eye-opener for me. I'm aware of Adam's work in single-seaters and some other formula, done well in the States, in Grand Am as well, of course, Graham, has he not? But
he has, yeah, and VLN.
This has been very, very impressive.
Yeah, we saw him, I think it was a couple of years ago, John, in the, I think it might well be the very same BMW M3 GT4 that's in this race. And himself and, from memory, Tim Mullen leading the class at will until gearbox problems intervened for the Nürburgring 24 hours. Led it at a canter.
And of course, he's another of these drivers who's been able to raise his game because of having more experienced co-drivers with him. I mean, folk like Bernd Schneider can tell you and help you in all manner of ways, along with Andreas Simonsen, of course, who's won this race before.
Got a car stopped out on the far side of the circuit.
I saw that just out the corner of my eye. Was that the GT4 Aston Martin?
I think it might have been.
And that's a class leader,
I think that is a class-leading car. We'll try and check that out. Let's go down to Nick Damon, because with only 2 hours and 20 minutes to go, things can still happen that can drastically, Nick, change the look and the feel of the race. And you're down at the Al-Hinkle pit as that car comes in, and this looks to be, well, a scheduled stop, but not a short stop for this Mercedes-Benz.
Well, no, they are definitely shaping up for a disc change, not a pad change, just a disc change. So much so that the disc is actually, if Jürgen follows the car in, Jürgen come down, you can see the disc is actually sitting on top of the wheel there. So they are very much looking at replacing the disc, and in fact, they're going to go for it right now. Out goes Rennie Munich, in comes Rob Huff, and here starts the delay which is obviously music to the ears of both Ralph Venetian and Adam Christodoulou, because this is going to delay the car for some time, and the first screws are coming off of these boiling discs, are probably running between, what, about 400 degrees centigrade. As we come now down to, Jürgen's going to show you what's going on now. As you can see, Allen key comes off. They're working on both sides. I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of heat involved. It's so late, just 2 hours to go. They must have hoped to get through without doing it. They've done pads before, and obviously it's probably easy to do both, but they must have had some minor brake issues and decided that it just can't make it last long, because the pads come out, in they go again. This is a quick change, but it's not instantaneous. They ease it out. Oh, that's going to hurt, because that rolled onto his bare leg, and the man toughs it out, but that's not going to be nice tomorrow morning, I can tell you. You have a 400-degree disc rolling onto your leg. But it's the professionals, these mechanics, that isn't going to hurt. The adrenaline stops in about 2 minutes, and then it's going to hurt like heck. I'll tell you that now. So we had ABS problems, of course. The GDL car, the similar SLS, had ABS problems. Normally a disc change wouldn't sort that. There'd be a sensor issue, but it might be that they just want to get a bit more metal and width on the pads, so they're moving in different areas to see if they can pick it up. But obviously after 22 hours, there's a huge pounding in those steel discs themselves. They're coming now to the second half of the procedure. This is on the right-hand side. We can check and see how the left-hand boys are doing. Hopefully they haven't burnt anybody or anything. They're just now stretching. They've got the disc mounted on the right-hand side, but they're just now putting back the pads, and Adam Christodoulou has gone down the start-finish straight. Now, does that put him into second? Or is it a lap back? It will put him into second. I'm going to avoid the disc now. That shout was a man saying, don't get run over by a 400-degree disc, and I was able to hop out of the way. So the final tyre goes back on. Out goes the air. Off goes the 38 to start. Oh, shut the door. And they've gone. And Paul will be able to tell us how long extra that was. It was quick, but that was a lap, I reckon, of disc change, which they probably didn't want to do.
2:45 when the car came down from the jacks, Nick, so you're absolutely right. Adam Christodoulou went through in the number 2, the Black Falcon Mercedes-Benz. There's your leader, Rolf Venetian. There is Adam Christodoulou. Graham?
And just to correct ourselves, John, it wasn't the Aston Martin, it was the Optimum Ginetta again that stuck out there. So the 152 car, we're told, is the car that's stranded out there and will be recovered. And I don't think that's the first time we've seen that car on the end of a tow rope this weekend.
Indeed it isn't. And as far as that 38 Mercedes is concerned, don't forget that's not in the race yet. That has gone up to the refuelling station at the very far end of the pit lane in order to be refueled. It's not yet back on track.
Now, Paul, you suggested that we might see all of the leaders in short order, and Rolf Venetian comes in the Stadler Motorsport Porsche from the lead of the 24 hours of Dubai, and trundles down the pit lane. Rennie Munish, his closest competitor now, with Rob Huff in that car, is also in the pit lane, and Nick Damon is down with the leader.
I do like it when they come in close together and the pits are close together. That saves me a lot of walking. They're about 10, 15 metres apart. This is going to be a much more simple stop. It is going to be tyres, it is going to be driver. And interestingly, the mechanic has just pulled out a couple of huge bits of rubber debris from the inner wheel arch of the front left wheel. Already Rolf Venetian is out. Engelhardt is in. Bit of a clean of the windscreen. Thank you, sir. I'm not giving you 20p for that. Taking a bit of time with the rear, actually. They've not been quite as swift as they could have been, actually. They've taken a little bit of extra time on a couple of the wheels. The right one's going down now, but that's probably 10 seconds longer than it should have been, and not an entire disc change. So that's 2 out of the 3, and I can see with my eagle eyes down at the number 2 pit, we have the third of this triumvirate, the car that is vying for third place, so second and third place now. That's Adam Christodoulou.
And they seem to have a problem, Nick, on the front left, or they're doing some brake work.
I think Bruce is down there watching that. Bruce?
Yeah, and the Black Falcon Racing crew were looking down the pits 2 minutes earlier to see what was happening with the number 38 car. They had a wry smile, but they're going for the whole disc change as well. I thought they might have had that in the bag, and therefore they wouldn't have to, and then it really would have closed up in this battle for second place, but Adam Christodoulou is standing alongside. He's out of the car. Jeroen Bleekemolen has taken over, and Christodoulou is just staring to see what they're doing, how quickly they can do it. As you say, 2.25 minutes, 2.25 hours, I beg your pardon, to go in this race. It's going to go all the way to the flag, but it looks as though the Stadler Motorsport Porsche is well clear, but the battle between these two Mercedes, number 38 in second place and number 2 trying to close in third, it's going to go all the way to the flag, I feel, and certainly with Jeroen Bleekemolen doing the driving.
And it may not also just be decided on the track, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that after we've spoken again to Nick Damon.
With René Münnich just out of the 38 car. René, it must have been a last-minute decision to do that disc change so close to the end of the race.
Yeah, but it is necessary. So the other Mercedes did it also. Without change the disc, or it was only with pads, it's not possible to drive.
Was it a case of the brakes just feeling spongy and long, or were you having issues with ABS as some of the other Mercedes have had?
Yeah, our car is okay. It's running well. We had one time a problem with the ECU. Was easy fixed, and since then the car is running very well.
And you've got Robin now. What, is he going to do 2 stints and then hand over, or is he going to? Because he can't get to the end, can he?
No, he will hand over to Mark and then finish.
Thanks a lot, Ray. Best of luck. Thank you.
A point I was going to make before we went down to René Münnich down there is there's action on the track, and that is hot and close and frenetic. But I seem to remember Jeroen Bleekemolen some 20-odd hours ago, Paul Truswell, saying, well, keep your eyes open towards the end of this race because we think that the weather may take a turn. And there was a bit of a chuckle in here from me when he said that. However,
I think he was just trying to play people along. What is going to happen is that the temperatures will rise. We've currently got 18 degrees. It's going to go up to about 20 degrees, I suspect. And if the brakes don't work, then you know, you're not going to get any stopping power at all. So, as we heard from René Münnich, then it has to be done. They're very good at being able to take those pads off, to change them, to change the discs, and to get going again as quickly as they can.
So Christian Engelhardt is now behind the wheel of the Stadler Motorsport car, for it is he who has taken that car out. He's no slouch either. Rob Huff, however, has been slapped around by the team and fed raw meat before he was shoehorned into the Mercedes-Benz.
Shown disturbing pictures, I've been told.
Now, Huffy, they've been telling him all the time, now look, Huffy, this is not touring cars, this is endurance racing.
However,
now they've said, Huffy, this is not endurance racing, this is touring cars. Get out there, son.
Now, quick question, because I've been away having a bit of lunch. How has the number 90 Racing Divas car got to the lead of that class?
That's a very good question, actually. They just keep turning around, yeah.
And they've taken a penalty just now, but is that just on pit stops? Or have there been dramas?
I think we've had dramas from someone else in the class. This is
they were running fourth when I remember when we came into daybreak, weren't we?
Class. Let's just have a look down at the detail of that class. We had a 6-minute, that will be it, a 6-minute pit stop from the car that was leading the class, number 47, which is the Motorsport Services Seat Leon Supercopa. Danny Studdart now behind the wheel, and that's the car that Ricky Kuma is sharing with Devon Modell and Aaron Harris, New Zealander driver. And say just a long pit stop, and all of a sudden things change right around.
There you go, Claudia Hürtgen is quickest driver out there. 2:01.792 at the moment.
Did Claudia ever get in the 76 car?
I don't think she did.
No, she didn't.
So she was named in it in case, but it never came to pass.
I think having helped set the car up, they were prepared to share the drive with her, but when it was not going to go anywhere in terms of getting a position at the top of the field, then quite reasonably they said, well, look, if you don't want to drive it, you don't have to. You don't have to share in the glory. There is no glory to be shared in, so she stuck with the Valkenhorst Motorsport entry, which was the one she was originally entered for.
Would you like a quick Ginetta update?
We'll do that when we come back from the TV break. And Nick Damon is down in the pit lane.
Here down with Rolf Nyken from the number 20, the leading car. Rolf, another stint just reeled off, and he managed to gain more on your closest competitor because they both had to change discs. Your car is looking very reliable and very quick.
Yeah, it is. We are very happy. The car is, at the moment, we can go for, let's say, 2 minutes, 2:00 we can run. But we go now really slow to take care that nothing breaks. But we are all very nervous, so it's still a little bit more than 2 hours. So 2 hours is a long time in racing, and a lot of pieces can happen in.
I mean, I think we know that there have been problems with other Porsches up and down the pit lane. You said as well you've had some slight gear selection issues and transmission issues. You'll have those issues, or are you just now driving round it?
We try to drive around it. We still have them, but we can drive around them by using the clutch if it happens. And we also shift the gears earlier than we should, so to be safe.
It's all right. Only just over 2 hours. I'm sure it's fine. Thanks, Rolf.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So short shifting for 2 and a bit hours. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yes, that has got to be the worst feeling in the world. Great, we're leading the race, great, leading the race, but the gearbox is starting to get a bit antsy. You don't want to be the guy in that, Graham Goodwin.
No.
If it breaks.
You just know, even if it's not going to break, in the last 10 or 15 minutes of this race, you're going to hear noises, aren't you? You just are.
Well, you've sat in racing cars before, and they sound like they've fallen to bits sometimes.
They sound like you've basically put a bag of bolts in a cement mixer. It's what they sound like. Glorious things like that. They do. You know, they do.
And Porsche gearboxes whine like a class full of 6-year-olds not allowed to go out at playtime. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, or indeed a GT driver being told they're going to run to a bracket time.
Well, yes, that as well. Yeah. So Christian Engelhardt at the moment babying that car around 203.5 quicker than we've seen it go for a little while. It's been sitting around the 205s because they are saving that car. Paul, just to go back to the point of back timing as in comes the 152. We saw that at the side of the circuit and has been recovered. It's Lee Moore at the wheel of that car, the Optimum Racing Ginetta. Paul, we started to examine the idea of potentially teams now playing the tactical card and getting the cars filled right up. We talked in the early parts of the show, and we'll remind viewers and listeners now, most of the cars have a 120-litre tank, but very few of them are allowed to put 120 litres in one go. Ideally, you'd like to do as few pit stops as possible, so trying to brim full the tank and get maybe an hour and a half when you've only been doing an hour and 15 might be the way to go at the end of the race.
Yes, I mean, they know now that those who have just made the pit stops will need one further pit stop to get them to the flag. So what they'll be thinking about doing is whether they'll do that one pit stop exactly at 1 o'clock when there's 1 hour to go, or maybe they'll do it at 1:45, knowing that they can go for an hour and a quarter through to the finish time of 2 o'clock, or maybe they'll leave it to 1:15. But because they know where the end point is, they can kind of put some bookends around their strategy, whereas before, when they've been playing out their strategy, it's been a kind of open-ended strategy, just going forwards like a row of books with only one bookend on.
And it is the benefit of having a time-certain race.
Exactly.
Because
so
the issue is if you have a length race, like in the old days, the old 1,000 Ks, that's 1,000 K for the drivers that win the race. If you're in a different category or a few laps down, it's not 1,000 K for you.
Exactly. I've been in a pit where the team were one of the lower classes, and we had to have one person nominated to check how many laps the leader had done, knowing that the leader had to complete 286 laps, and then trying to work out how many laps we were going to have to do in the same time that the leader was going to do his 286 laps. And that takes one person, because all of a sudden you get the leader having a problem and the sum that you've done suddenly changes. So you have to be a little bit sharp when it's a distance race, as opposed to this is a times race. Everybody can set their watches. They know the race is going to end at 2 o'clock, and they can just make their own strategy towards that end.
Mohammed Jawa in the number 888, the very local Dragon Speed team, just going up into 8th position. 2:05.023 last time around, leads the A6 amateur class. 2:07.7 in traffic that time around. It's been suggested that to motivate Rob Huff to chase down the leader, that he was being shown images of Ivan Muller smiling and holding trophies in the pit before he was allowed in. I think it's almost abuse, that, for Huffy, isn't it?
That wouldn't be allowed. Surely that's got to be illegal.
I think the Geneva Convention prohibits that sort of thing. 2:01.066. Pierre Caffer in the 458 Ferrari in 5th position. Just taking that car out. We saw that car coming in, what, 5-10 minutes ago? A little bit more than that now, actually. He's been in that car 15 minutes. Engelhardt with a 2:03.4. So he has set himself a time here, Graham, that's about 1.5 seconds quicker than we have seen that car running for the last hour or so. The key thing is the driver has got to be comfortable. It's easy to lose concentration by driving too slow as well as by trying too hard.
It is, but then look at what's happening in 2nd and 3rd positions, because Huffy's just put in a 2 minutes .558, just a 1/10.5 off the fastest time for that car, and Jerome Bleekemolen's done almost exactly the same, just exactly a tenth in fact, off the fastest time for the number 2 car. The pace is hotting up right now. This is where they're going to try and exert that pressure. You've got the quick guys in. If you like, the pressure is almost off the 2nd and 3rd place cars here. They have, at the moment, nothing to lose but a podium finish, and boy, would they trade that for a win. So they need to turn the screw, and there might be 4 laps between, but pressure can tell, and that's what they're doing right at the moment.
So Rob Huff down to a 2 minutes .558. That's barely a tenth away from the fastest lap of that car. Still only the two cars. Nicky Pastorelli in the early part of the race in the Corvette, the pole-sitting Corvette, with a 1:59.5 has the fastest race lap of the race. Well, the fastest lap of the race, 1:59.9 by the 17 car, also in the early part of the race. And I thought the number 1 car had done a sub car. That was...
Yes, he has, John. He did a 1 minute 59.92 on the 2nd lap of the race. Nicky Pastorelli's fastest lap, and indeed the fastest lap of the race, was done on the 3rd lap of the race.
So that is 3 cars now under 2 minutes.
The 17.
Yeah, that's I did mention the 17. It was Richard Lyons, I think, who did that lap.
Did. Yeah, but that was done later on.
Much later.
In the happy hour period of this morning's, I won't say dawn, because it was all a bit grey this morning, but early on at about 8 o'clock this morning, that lap time was done just after the code 60 was removed.
I'm sorry to say this, gentlemen, but I have a feeling that headlines should not be written, certainly not carved in stone at this point. I've just got a feeling there's a couple of things that might yet catch us out, if I'm honest. It has the feel of that. This race has been unpredictable from the start.
It's another fastest lap of the race for the 458 car. The fastest lap of the race for that car, as Pierre Caffer carves another few tenths off. Sorry, Paul.
No, I was just going to say, can I put it to you, the average speed of these cars over the next 2 hours means that in the next 2 hours they're going to travel 200 miles. Now, just think about being in a location close to yourself and undertaking a journey of 200 miles and thinking, oh, OK, all sorts of things could go wrong in that time, couldn't they? So, you know, in my case, I can imagine a drive from my house to Leeds is about 200 miles.
Yep.
So I'm not quite sure about other people, but you wouldn't necessarily expect to be able to do that without having some kind of problem, would you? I mean, in an ordinary road car,
driving at 200 miles an hour, no. Mostly being pulled over by people with blue lights on and told to slow down, I would have thought. Stadler Motorsport, not tempting fate. When was the last time they had a major international win under their belt?
Ooh, no, was it Stadler that used to run, oh, good grief,
Lillian Brynner.
That's exactly it.
Lillian
It was
Brynner,
the black and yellow car that led
Enzo Calderari.
Led a BPR race, didn't it? And failed to observe a warning flag and got an almighty beating in the penalty box, but could have won that race.
I'm just going to zip up Graham Goodwin's anorak to the very, very hilt. It is going to be
Wasn't that long ago.
Kenny style.
1994.
That's very good. So, but they didn't win that, though.
They didn't win that, no.
So when did they last win a major international? And I don't know. I'm asking.
I've no
I'm
idea.
putting it out there. If the collective know at Radio Le Mans or at Specutainment, when did Stadler Motorsport last win a major international motor race? And if they do it here, it will be a tremendous achievement for the whole team. I wouldn't say they were rank outsiders at the start, but I think you'd have had decent odds on them at the bookies. Rob Huff, though, still putting the pressure on. 2:04.3 from Engelhardt, leading the race. Rob Huff, 2:01.7. He is piling on the pressure in that Munich car. So we move into the last 2 hours of the Dunlop Dubai 24 Hours for 2014. A couple of people I want to pull out. Rob Huff, definitely, gentlemen, but also Nicky Pastorelli, I think, has done a cracking job leading that squad in the 21, the V8 Motorsport Corvette. But also a couple of youngsters who I think have proved themselves beyond doubt this weekend. Sebastian Ash, for me, has been a revelation. Dane Cameron coming across from the States, and countryman of his, Conor De Felipe. All of those four drivers, for me, in somewhat different surroundings to what they're used to. 2 minutes, 0.283 for Jerome Bleekemolen, when we know what he can do. The Bleekemolen effect is to bend time and space to where he wants it to be. But those four, well, Rob Huff, relatively new to endurance racing, and then those three youngish drivers.
And on the basis of what we saw just about an hour ago in the GTM class, I'd add Jordan Grogor to that as well. Cracking stuff from him, I thought.
Yeah.
And don't forget the old master that was actually doing much the same job through the night, and that's Rob Barth.
Yeah.
Great stuff from Barfy. To actually have to drive to the level of accuracy they do on a bracket over that length of time in the dark, for me, is pretty good going.
Nothing needs to be left in the locker now, and Pierre Caffer puts in another fastest lap. I think that's 3 in a row, or if it's not, it's 3 out of 4 or 5, and now down to a 2 minutes, 0.969. But it's not all good news from the pit lane. Nick Damon.
No, it's very sad news, because the constant trying of the number 12 Manor Motorsport Viper has come to an end after a litany of problems, starting really early on with engine, encompassing a fuel issue, a leak, several large pieces of equipment taken off and new ones put on. And despite the very resolute message they had a few moments ago saying we will get this beast to the finish, the beast has won, and it is now being withdrawn as they can't fix the final engine problems, which saw it smoking on left-hand corners. So obviously an engine problem brewing, and perhaps discretion, the better part of valour. They can rebuild it and live to fight another day with this fabulous orange Viper.
To paraphrase a well-known sketch, the points are frozen, the beast is molting and staying in the box. The Valkenhorst Motorsport, that is a bit obscure, in fairness. The Valkenhorst Motorsport BMW continues to lap the 27 car, just on the outskirts of the top 6 with Claudia Hurtgen. I am impressed, Paul Truswell, that all of the drivers are confident enough in the machinery and their ability to be able to start ringing some fastest laps out of it. It's almost like a cycling race at a velodrome, where you have these match races and everybody sort of rides around, or two guys ride around slowly, and then the last 200 metres they all go hell for leather.
It's about who's got the biggest thighs, isn't it, really?
We've been riding around, figuratively speaking, getting in the right position for 22 hours, and now leave nothing on the table.
Well, yes and no. I mean, that gives the impression that they've been riding around saving their energy for the last 22 hours, and there haven't been, as is evident evidenced by the attrition that we've had throughout the race. It just shows how hard everybody's been pushing, and just look at the commitment that Claudia Hurtgen is showing here at the wheel of that BMW Z4 number 27. She's absolutely pushing it to the limit. And I think the illustration, the phrase I was going to use was, it shows how everybody is taking this seriously. They're not just casting it off and saying, okay, we're 6th, we're just going to carry on, or we're 8th, or we're 10th, we're just going to carry on. We're going to push, we can get another place, we can make it up the leaderboard a little bit further. Come on, everybody work together. We've got one more pit stop, and I want everybody to work together.
And I think part of that, Paul, is, you know, we get into the endurance mindset because of the races that we watch at the Nürburgring, at Spa, particularly at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and they're quite long laps. Here it's much shorter in time as well as in distance. So the gap between Engelhart and Huff, although it's 4 laps on the screen, that's less than 10 minutes. That's a botched tyre change, something going wrong, a cross thread, having to change a steering arm, or an extra puncture.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to timeservice.nl, it's 8 minutes and 7 seconds. So, you know, it's as little as that. 8 minutes is absolutely nothing. It's
not
cushion.
one lap of the Nürburgring.
I'd go further than that, John. I'd say right here, right now, I bet anybody in this country with a tenner that top 10 order will not stay the same for the flag.
It may not even be the top 6.
It may not even be the top 3. Well, and, you know, and it's happened before. And how many times have we seen this before? How many times do you think someone's cruising to what looks like a kind of gentle cruise to the win, and all of a sudden, what I've got next is John Hindhaugh bawling in my ear because he's seen something. Drama! Power!
Pierre Caffer has got target acquired on Nicky Pastorelli. He's a minute up the road, but it is only a minute now. Another 2 seconds taken from the number 21 Corvette by the 458 Ferrari that last lap around. And that's exactly what we're talking about, Paul. He's, you know, even if we're at the same part of the lap, which they're not, they'd be, you know, a mile and a half, 2 miles between each other, but they are racing each other as much as if they were door-to-door, wing mirror to wing mirror.
And the point is that because this is a team event, you're not just doing it for yourself and your own glory. You're doing it for your teammates, because you know your teammates have busted their guts all night, or at some point during the race pushed as hard as they can. You know that all the guys in the pit have pushed as hard as they can to get you turned around every time there's been something wrong with the car. You know that there's a team manager working scratching his head to try and work out all the different strategies, and as a mere part of that team, it's your responsibility to take your job seriously and carry it on through. So this is what characterises endurance racing so much.
And the little Honda that we just saw there, the lap 57 guy with Hamza Khan at the wheel, 4th in A2. And that car is bent, it's battered, it's got bits missing, but they desperately want to get to the flag. Now that's a completely different way to look at their motor racing. There's the Racing Divas. They were at one stage 30 laps down on the leader in class. And Gabby Uche now at the wheel of the 320D, going down through the first corner. He's now third in that category.
But less than a minute and 3/4 away from the
all of the first 3 are on the same lap.
They're in 34th, 35th and 36th position, John. The different mindset's actually quite simple to explain. Okay, we were talking a little while ago about the woes of the Team LNT Ginetta, and I popped down to the garage to see what the latest was there. Basically, the concerns they've got at the moment about the car is that they're pretty certain that something was rather badly bent in that shunt in the middle of the night. Well, Canada Kubasi had a rather rash run up the inside and gave Adam Sharp a real nerf and damaged that rear left right-hand corner. It's thrown 2 belts, it's broken 2 prop shafts. Something is awry with that car. To which my question was, but you're going to take the flag, aren't you? Well, no, we're not doing that. We're going to try and get out there now. I said, well, how many prop shafts have you got left? Oh, we've got the one. Those boys will carry that car across the line if they absolutely have to. They will carry it across. Their guys have had no sleep for 2 nights. They had to do a late night engine change after they lost a water hose in practice and qualifying. And then we had all the dramas of last night. And, you know, I put to Lawrence Tomlinson the thought that we'd had that perhaps it was just him being slightly tight and saving fuel and not completing a lap. And I think he gave that serious consideration, I'll be honest with you.
2:04.984 for Jeroen Mul in the number 10 Lamborghini, third place in the AM category. We're inside the last 2 minutes. You don't,
hang
2
on.
hours, you don't get jokers. You don't get jokers in the last 2 hours. 2:04.984 for Jeroen Mul. What happens now, Paul?
Sub 2:05 within the last 2 hours. He's in trouble.
He is, isn't he? I've got to go to the regs now. And
while you do that, let's head to Nick Damon down in the pit lane.
I'm with Sandra van der Sloot from the Racing Divas. The good news is that after the middle of the night, when we last talked, the car wasn't going very well and you were cold. Now you're warm and you're charging through the field.
Yeah, we're now on the 3rd position in our class, but it's so close. Number 1, 2, and 3 are within 1 lap. So, yeah, it would be great if we can finish first.
You're obviously the star driver for the team because you've just come out. You told me you're going back in again after this stint by Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby's a little bit tired, so she doing her best to drive the good laps now. And I hope she can finish till her stint time, 1 hour and 15 minutes, so that I can take the last 45 minutes and hope we can finish.
And if you do finish, do you think you have the speed to take the first in class, or will you need the others to have bad luck?
No, we have the speed to finish first.
Excellent, thanks, Sandra.
Can't knock the confidence there, can you, after 23 hours, pretty much, of racing. Now, let's go back to this number 10 Lamborghini. The 2:04.984 for Jeroen Mul. Third place in AM. It's a 2:05 bracket time. Paul has the big red book of Paul's big red book of rules.
yeah, it's a 10-second time penalty, so let's come in for a 10-second stop and go.
Okay, very simple to that. We will watch that happen.
What happens if they do it twice,
the next time that car's in the pits?
What happens if they do it twice, Paul?
Same penalty again.
Oh, really?
So it doesn't get worse, as far as I can tell. No.
And are they allowed to do anything else in the pit stop, or is that just, can they do that on a regular pit stop, or is that more like a proper stop and go?
Well, you can do it on a regular basis, a regular stop. What you can't do is to add them together.
Right, OK. So they've got to take a run down the pit lane either way.
Yes.
The Saint, who tweets in at @SpecUTurban@Radio 2002 was the last time Stedler Motorsport won an endurance event, I believe. He didn't tell me which one it was, though. If we can have a look at that.
It must be a VLN race. Must be a VLN race.
Yes, possibly. Nick Damon?
John, quick one. Hopefully Jürgen's got this. If you want to take all the weight out of your car, do it now, because they dismantled the weighbridge. So, at this point, everyone get all the lead out of your car and go as fast as you can for the last section, and then just at the end, stick about 50 kilograms in a bloke with a camel, just shove back in again.
The problem is, of course, that by making the stop to get rid of the lead, you'll be losing more time than you would have done anyway. But such are the things. But after a long race like we've had, they've been doing random weight checks throughout the meeting, or throughout the race, I should say, because they weren't doing it during the qualifying sessions. But
a leading car, their team manager said to us the other day, we've never been on the weighbridge once. And that was right up until, I think, till race day.
Until the race started, and then it got weighed straight away, yes.
Yes. Jeroen Bleekemolen, meanwhile, has just gone within, half a tenth of his previous fastest lap in the number 2 car. 2 minutes point 530 follows a 2 minutes point 32. So he's right on it.
I have to say, random weight checks, that suits me down to the ground, because my weight is as random as it comes, to be honest. There is no rhyme or reason that goes along with that. A 2 minute point 750 for Kaffer. He's still got
has
it.
got the bits between his teeth.
He has still got it. There's no doubt about it. So the bright red Ferrari heading down the hill from the far side of the circuit to us and into the braking area, well, through the kink at 13 first and then into the braking area at 14. The scene of so many incidents over the last 23 hours. 22 3/4 hours, and into the pit lane comes Porsche number 42, Stefan Bielinski, leading the 997 class. Now, he's not going to be able to go all the way from here, Paul. Even a 997 can't do an hour and a 45.
It's not far off.
Well, okay.
It's not far off. If he's going to, if he's got
soft pedaling.
If he's going to, I didn't want to say soft pedal, but if he's got an engine mapping that's a bit leaner, it's not far off. Remember, early on in the race was actually being led for a lap, wasn't it, by a 997 class car? And I'm just going to look back now and find out how long into the race that was.
He has got a little bit of breathing space.
6 laps, John, but less this pit stop, of course.
Yeah, well, she'll lose a couple.
Yeah, so
for sure.
It'll be 1 hour and 43 minutes by the time he emerges from the pits.
Yes, that's a very good point. That is a very good point.
With a full tank of fuel.
Now, this is the SVDP Racing, who have had what can only be described as an up and down race here in Dubai. They have led their class. Now they're last of the running cars in the field. Now, we talk about Chris Budnick, who's at the wheel of this BMW. We talk about people having different expectations. They would have thought that a class win in that BMW in the D1 category was there. Now, at the moment, they are looking to try and get that car to the finish.
Not quite the last of the running cars, because just as you said it, the 137 car popped up in the fueling area and is now on its outlap. And I think that's the Mosler, isn't it?
No, that's 136. 137.
I'll remind myself of that.
Is an A2 car, so it's right at the back.
It's the VDS Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Of Rafael van der Straten, Joel van Locker and Gael Frere, along with Mark Haller and Jose Kloos.
Jose Klose.
Jose Klose.
Who I like to say. Two-and-a-half-hour engine change we're hearing for that car after throwing a pigeon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Piston. Had an alternator problem. The bottom of the piston came out and took the alternator bracket off. I have had that happen to an engine of mine.
No, the VDS Aventure team, of course, not the same team as Mark VDS.
No.
But they were due to have a very different car here, of course, that Mr. van der Straten had commissioned a car based on the old Gilles Vertigo, the VDS.
Yes, I read about that.
GT. I think they just came to the conclusion it wasn't ready for a 24-hour race yet.
They did have the sort of Mustang here last year.
That's the same car.
That is the same car, right? Okay.
But it's based on a Gilles Vertigo.
Okay, got you. Rob Huff takes more time out the leaders. It's not enough, though. It is not enough. 2:01.506, and still just on 3 laps, almost 4 laps. What a big... Huffy's actually got past the leader and taken one of the laps back. He's ahead of him on the track now. And having been set to full military power, Rob Huff has been delivering. What's interesting is towards the end of the second stint, just the tyres just can't produce the lap times. Nicky Pastorelli 2:03. He has now been closed down to 48 seconds by Pierre Caffer. The last time I mentioned that was 10 seconds more. So that was about 15-20 minutes ago. So Caffer is closing in, and I said he had target acquired. That is for 4th position overall, but that could so easily, Graham, become a podium.
It could very easily become a podium. It needs just one incident and one bit of bad luck ahead of him, and Pierre Caffer has got the smile back.
Yeah.
Meantime, our friend of the 42 car that we were talking about, could he make it on? Could he make it from here? How long did you say he could possibly do with the tank of fuel, Paul?
I think about an hour and 34 minutes.
Right, well, he's going to be slightly outside that because it's an hour and 41.
About an hour and 34 minutes.
Yeah,
well unless you get a code 60, of course.
Well, then it's all off.
Or, as I say, they can just monitor the pace a little bit.
Right, he's now...
Nick Damon adds something very pertinent from the pit lane. Nick?
Don't forget that first tank included the 2 wore-out laps and the run to the grid.
Very pertinent comment.
We'll make a team manager out of you yet, Nick.
I don't know. I've heard stories about team managers like a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure I want to be one.
Well, the point I was going to make is that he's just left the pits, and it's 1 hour and 41 minutes to go.
It's tight.
I think he can just about do it. If he would be dicing for position, probably not. But
with 4 laps clear,
this is the car that did lead the race for some 4 laps, right at the beginning. 3 laps, correction, right at the beginning of the race, but purely by virtue of staying out when all the A6 cars, the GT3s, came in for their pit stops.
A very, very battle-weary looking number 2, Jerome Bleekemolen, installed in that car. What we thought was possibly the unbeatable combination of Abu Dhabi, Black Falcon, Bleekemolen, Schneider. 2 cars, 2 bullets in the gun. Even transferring Jerome Bleekemolen to the second car has not been enough, Paul.
And even if they would have been allowed to transfer Bernd Schneider to that car, which they weren't allowed to do, but you could see Bernd kind of, when we spoke to him in the middle of the night, would have thought that would have been nice if he could have done. But I don't think that would have made the difference. I think overall the cars that are ahead of that Black Falcon Mercedes have done so by virtue of being better and faster than it.
Well, the number 2 car did not have any issues whilst it was running as the second string car. Remember, it was getting better fuel mileage. It had done a couple of pit stops less than the cars around it at one stage. It had only done 7 and others had done 10. I remember that early on in the race quite clearly. It's now done 18 pit stops to the leaders' 18 pit stops, and it's battle-scarred and weary, and that's because it had to pick up the pace.
Yeah, and it's also spent 20 minutes longer in the pits than the Stadler Motorsport car, for example. The Stadler Motorsport has spent just over an hour and 7 minutes in the pits. The second place car, the All-Inkle Mercedes at 38, has spent an hour and 22 minutes in the pits. And the Black Falcon Mercedes number 2 in third place has spent an hour and 27 minutes in the pits. And that's the total time spent during pit stops that car has spent actually in the pit lane. That's including refueling, including changing the tyres.
Mohamed Jawa takes out the 888, and maybe that he'll take that car to the flag. He is leading A6 AM in 7th position overall for Dragon Speed and that Ferrari. One, 2, 7 gets pushed into the pit, and that's second place in the D1 category, Tom Onslow Cole, and so that is drama for a potential podium sitting car. So Jerome Bleekemolen, is there a twist in the tail at the head of the field? Will it be another one of the classes? 41 seconds between Pierre Caffa and Nicky Pastorelli, and 4 seconds was the gain by Caffa last time around. He has turned up the wick, not getting down to the 2 minutes point 7s that the car has been capable of, and he was peppering the high 2 minutes point 6, 7, or 7, 8, 9 rather. 2:01.2 there, though, is not a bad reward for Pierre Caffa. 42 minutes since that car was in the pit lane.
An illustration of what the Ferraris could have done. I mean, it's been a race dominated once again by German marques, not necessarily German entrants, but German marques, with Porsche, Mercedes in the first 3 places at least. Of course, at one point in the middle of the night, we were thinking that maybe this could be a Ferrari weekend. It wasn't to be, but they've certainly got the pace. They've just not quite had the reliability again, have they?
No. It's sad to say, I'm afraid, that it was, having talked about at the start of this TV segment, having talked about the attrition rate being mainly caused by mechanical failure because of the pace. That one in particular was accident damage, as per that left rear wheel arch there. Johnny Molan, part of someone else's extension, and car 152.
That's the one that's just recovered. That's the up to
It's just gone out again with Joe Osborne.
Lap and stopped again.
And now dropped down to 4th position in SP3 category, having been right there earlier on. SP3 led by the 155 car. SP2 still has the Nissan 370. Florian Strauss has been in that car a very long time.